live.
Make a motion to begin the meeting.
Woodbridge Conservation Commission meeting of April 3rd, 2025 at 6:10 p.m. And we are going to start with a call to order, which we just did, and approval of minutes. Have people had a chance to look at the minutes? Does anyone, let's give everyone a minute just to look at them.
I know Ben loves him. He's my minute checker.
Oh, good. Well, I didn't see anything.
Even when he's not here, I make him look at him.
Can we move, does anyone want to approve these minutes?
A motion to make, to approve the minutes.
Any second?
A second?
All in favor? Okay, meeting minutes of March 6, 2025 are approved. Do you want to talk about what's happening?
My quote?
Oh, yes, your quote.
Sure. So it is
Starting a
April.
tradition.
It is Earth Month. We are kicking off our quote. One of the most, kicking off our Earth Month quote with one I'm sure everyone will recognize and realize how important it is right now. I speak for the trees. I'll yell and I'll shout for the fine things on earth that are on their way out. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not.
I love the Lorax.
Do I get an extra piece of cake for knowing the book?
Thank you. Sad but true.
And serious. Well, and a special moment of
It's a
reflection
warning.
for,
Right? Very clear warning.
yeah, and a special moment to say that our hearts and prayers go out to those in the LIHEAP program who lost their jobs today across the country. Everyone who worked in the low income home energy assistance program was sent home. And that program, which supports folks of all ages for energy assistance and heating fuel assistance, was eliminated. So,
Wow.
prayers and thoughts for all of those.
And all the recipients of that energy.
Mm-hmm. And I quote again, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So let's think about that. And with that, we will move on to the next item on the agenda.
Which is what's happening, and do you want to talk about Trail Cleanup Day? And
Yes, Trail Cleanup Day will be happening again this coming
April 13th?
April 13th, Sunday, with Andy Danzig, our wonderful trail master. April 13th at 11, please email him at info@woodbridgetrails.org to learn where the trail cleanup kicks off. This is an important time for folks to get out into their yards and to remove those invasives before they sprout seeds and flowers. Get them out of there as fast as you can.
And how about an Earth Day report?
All right, Earth Day. It is coming up fast and furious. Happy to know that our seedlings, which are much larger this year and come potted with some soil, so Sharon doesn't have to bag them all herself. They are on their way here. We got 30 magnolia saucer magnolias. We got 50 flowering white dogwood and 50 flowering red buds. So stop by the Conservation Commission table on Earth Day and get your native pollinator for your house. And also take our quiz or go on our scavenger hunt. We encourage you to stop by and learn. And if you come by in the wee hours of the morning, you will find Sharon and Diana there. And if you come by in the hot noon sun, you will find Ben and Rachel. And possibly Barbara coming by at some point in time to give us water breaks. And we will be there until 4 o'clock. So,
There's also going to be guided Earth Day walks on Sunday. And not sure that the time has been posted as of yet, but there should be something on the Earth Day information that it will be given or shown on Earth Day. But there's going to be 3 walks. They're asking for people to sign up in advance, like at your table or at my table at Massaro. So those of us could just have that and to tell people about that. So walk number 1 is going to be in Alice Newton Street Park. Enjoy a family-friendly walk from the center of town to Wampawag Falls and back while listening to trained foresters talk about the Woodbridge Park Association's 10-year plan for forest sustainability and its upcoming implementation of the CLCC grant as part of a climate-smart stewardship effort to evaluate different methods of enhancing beach survival after current beach bark and beef leaf infestations. It's about a 1.5 to 2 mile walk, easy terrain, great for families. Probably meeting. It's going to be an afternoon start right here in the center of town. Walk number 2 will be Bishop West. See an old cement kiln and quarry hidden in the woods. It's a moderate walk. There's some hills, wet areas possible, out and back. It's about 2 miles to see the kiln. A short off-trail walk down and back up a short, steepish slope to the trail is required. Walking sticks are recommended, and walkers may opt out of this part of the walk. And that's going to be at the Darling House parking lot on 1910 Litchfield Turnpike. Then Eldersley Preserve would be the most difficult of the hikes. That's going to be, you'll be able to see glacial erratics, walk through varied woodlands, once used by the Regicide judges, circuit walk with varied terrain and some steeper hills, 2 to 3 miles, limited parking available, so carpooling or cycling is encouraged. And that will be at 11 a.m. at the Eldersley parking area, right on Peck Hill. So, and there'll be information, like I said, if you could share that, at your tables during Earth Day to get people to sign up beforehand, that would be great.
I might,
And we can attend if we want to.
yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like a great idea.
I might make it's not a correction, but where they are gonna meet for the Bishop West is not in the Darling House parking lot. According to this, the address is in the Boy Scout across the street
Okay.
in the barn.
I wonder if
area.
they want the meeting place to be the lot, though. Do you think?
Well,
That's what
then everybody has to cross the road, but that's not the address they give.
Okay.
So, just in case people
Okay,
are trying
Great.
to figure out where they are.
We will
Sounds
encourage parking signage to be.
If you see a crowd in
Right.
that spot or across the street,
in terms of what's happening, Barbara, you said there was a lecture on Friday that, when we were on our walk today, you mentioned a lecture on bobcats.
Oh, is that Friday? I couldn't
I
remember
don't,
when it was.
but there
it's-
is a library lecture on bobcats that we don't know the exact date of, but look on the library website if you're interested.
It's there, yeah.
Okay, anything else that we wanna talk about for what's happening?
Well, I can put in a plug for Earth Day. The Historical Society is putting an exhibit on Roger Sherman,
Okay.
including having on display our copy of the Declaration of Independence, which is real.
Which is real. For any of our viewers at home, you want to tell them who, if they've never heard of Roger Sherman, who he is?
Well, he's one of the founding fathers, and he signed, only person that signed all 4 founding documents. He also had a farm in Woodbridge. So,
you want to say where?
yes, I want to say where.
Parking lot is?
There is a parking lot on top of his house, his farm now, on the corner of Johnson Road and
Ansonia.
Ansonia Road.
The Woodbridge
Oh.
Country Club property, now the Woodbridge.
It's
Defunct.
country club property now. They
Okay,
have just installed a parking lot there. But hopefully the Historical Society is working with the DOT to put up signage, at least to commemorate where he was, where he had his farm.
Be nice to have like one of those nice
That's what we're trying to get.
rocks or something, yeah.
if you look at the next item, it's that there's a membership vacancy, should we put that at the end?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Want to make a motion to amend the,
The agenda?
Yeah.
And put the number 4 at the end after member comments.
okay, a second?
All in favor?
Who seconded?
Diana?
Diana. Can you hear us, Kathy? No.
Yeah. So who started it?
So move it to.
Sharon started this whole
Oh,
thing.
I thought you started it. Yeah.
So move number 4 to after number 8. And before member
No,
comments.
Number 9.
After 9.
After 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Just in case you have any final comments you want to make.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Number 5, Board of Selectmen presentation on Racebrook Track conservation efforts. Can you speak to that? I'm not sure exactly.
So that is the parking lot thing.
Oh, right.
Yep, and we talked about maybe, because things are so hectic with the town right now, that maybe we should park that for a minute.
So I think, based on like my travel schedule, I am not able to meet, to present to the Board of Selectmen on this one in particular until the end of April.
Okay, yeah, I think that's what we said.
Yeah.
And then to get on their agenda, knowing that their meetings are going 5+ hours, I just didn't know if it made
Well, if they
sense with the
wanna push it
budget
off again,
and.
they can, but we'll apply for it and you'll be there to present.
Right, so we had requested, we had made the request to put the Racebook track, on their agenda because, there's a request from, the Trails
Yep,
Association
To
to
do a
put
parking
a
lot.
parking lot there so that we increase access to the Racebrook track hiking trails
on the Woodbridge side.
on the Woodbridge town line side. Our commission is in favor of that. We were questioning the materials and whatever the cost would be, trying to veer away from using a crushed pavement material because of the
Environment.
hazardous environmental.
I believe
Impacts.
the millings have been used up
All of them?
on the Roger Sherman parking lot.
Wonderful. And
Okay.
is that the wetlands area down there where they put it?
It's not much.
Okay, good.
There's kind of like a meadow before you get to the wetland area.
So
Okay.
we could present it with our concern about this and then we could be involved with.
Well, recommendations on what materials they should use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who would like to do that investigation?
And
yeah.
if there was a cost, I don't know, I mean, I went and saw the area with Tim, it's a pretty large area, so sometimes
what
when you
they're
get quotes,
requiring
you would
is,
wanna know like what the square footage would be for that area, so that you would get a cost estimate.
Yeah, so looking back on,
His original cost estimate was free material, and the town said about $5,000.
right, $5,000. I didn't want to give that back, but I will now. Asked before. But, I'm just looking at the document. Oh, here we go. Okay, great. The proposed entrance on that property across from the northernmost 0.35 acres of the Racebrook Road, that is in Woodbridge. And currently there's a rock wall gap of about 15 feet. Rotary sign will probably be moved some feet to the north as this project as to not impede sight lines. I'm just scrolling. The state ROW is measured at 15 feet from the end of the paved road as it is represented to the town. The parking lot area is preliminarily expected to be an 80 by 100 foot square rectangular parking lot. And then we'd also put a directional sign in there to alert drivers where to turn. Okay? State requirements, a 45-foot wide driveway with a 5 or 10 radii. Paved far enough back to install a 12-inch wide white stop bar and a 4-inch double yellow center line. So the entrance there, you know, having for folks who would be leaving, they would have that white line in the road where it's stop. Don't just drive out there, right? And then there would be two, you know, the double yellow line down the center, depicting one side from the other. And a 30-inch stop sign on the breakaway post about 10 feet behind the edge of the road, and any grading to be done, to be noted in the project paperwork. So the estimate was about $5,000. According to Tim, Inland Wetlands has reviewed it and thought they don't really have anything that they need to weigh in on. And they wanted us to present this to the Board of Selectmen for approval, which we're happy to do. I think where we are right now is just the material for the parking lot, the 80 by 100. There are some requirements with the state as you come in that it has to be paved. So there's nothing we can do about that. And we want people to be safe and have enough room to turn in and not cause traffic. The other request that we had was to notify the residents in that area that the neighbors whose property abut the property. Does that sound right? And I think I was looking for, does anybody have the letter that we sent out for the scenic road designation?
The letterhead.
No, like the actual letter that we sent out to the neighbors notifying them of, we would like to apply to be a scenic road, and did they want to support that that designation? If somebody has that letter in,
Westwood Road.
yeah, well, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say.
I don't know what road I said.
yes,
I'm
I
sorry,
have
Sharon.
copies.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Barbara. Oh my God, I am losing it tonight. What did you put in this cake?
Watch out.
Yes. If you have that letter in a Word document, would you mind
Yep.
sharing that with me so I
I
can
shall.
start from there for it? And so at the Board of Selectmen meeting, we would present what has been presented here along with that letter. We would want their approval on that commission, so their edits and feedback on that, their approval on the material. We probably need to get a quote on that too.
Right.
Any questions on this?
So are you you're not gonna request to go on April because you are not
Not the first
here.
one in April, but I think there's is there a
Yeah,
second one in
well,
April?
there's the preliminary budget meeting, right?
Well, we'll ask Allison if
April's-
there's time, and she'll tell us.
Yeah,
We don't need to
And
add.
it can be pretty brief.
I think they're going for the longest meeting records, so I'm happy to support
add to that,
or-
help them achieve that goal.
Sure, as long as I'm on the first part of the agenda.
Shall we move
Right.
on now? Anything else?
No, we'll
concerning that?
request from Allison to see if they
Yeah.
want us on April or they want us on May.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Item 6 is Greenway Trail hikes with community every other week schedule that we, I guess, had talked about, and what are people's
Yes,
thoughts
so,
about
I'm sorry that we don't have the Greenway Trail map up, but we have wonderful Greenway trails, and it sounds like we're already starting some of those hikes, the day after the Earth Day celebration. So my recommendation would be putting together a hiking schedule, every other week, I don't know, every 3 weeks, whatever I'm open to
ideas?
ideas. So the idea would be trying to get, inviting the community to come out on a hike to learn the Greenway Trail, because there's a question about it, and learn about how our trails connect us throughout our town.
I guess I would propose being a little less endeavorsome and have 2 of us go on a hike and start it every month, and if we get a interested following, we increase it and do it in pairs so that, someone at the beginning and end of the group, the large group that we may acquire. Is anyone interested in
I
that?
have like 2 ideas. One would be really sweet if you had like sort of a year of hikes in Woodbridge and you had your whole year, so you could see it through the seasons. That's really cool.
That's a great idea.
But, cause that's kind of what we do at the farm too, it's like a year at the farm. But the other thing, to your point, Sharon, is trying to gain a following, and it's nice now, the weather's getting nice now, so maybe you have now, between now and say November, that you would really be hiking. And try to keep a once a month to an every other week schedule so that you can build that following and
Right, like the first weekend of every month or something.
because I think a lot of families would take advantage of it, and if somehow you could advertise it with like, how we have concerts on the green on Tuesdays in the summer, that there could be a hike, evening hike or a morning hike, or something for some families to do with their families in the
Late
summer.
afternoon hike would be very nice, 'cause it's a little cooler.
Yeah, it's always cooler in the woods.
I do know that the trust is doing a hike on Bishop West on, annual Trails Day, which I think is, well, I know it's in June, I think it's the, 7th of June they're doing it.
So maybe we do one in May and they do one in June, and then we do one again in July.
Yeah. And see what your following is by then, and then bump it up or keep going.
Yeah, that's the first weekend in June.
Even ex officio members can do
I'd be happy to.
Well, and also maybe it sounds like something we can pair with some of the other organizations and commissions in town who are doing that, right? So I'm sure sustainability would probably like one, and I don't know, maybe farms and historical society, trails,
Yep.
parks.
If we're gonna do one for May, do we need to decide it tonight?
It would be nice to at least get you started, like your first 3, and then you could kind of highlight that and advertise it to people. And if you want one of those to be at the farm, I'm happy to have one of those, meet a group of people and do that at the farm one night or one.
I like the idea of it, like wherever we end on one hike, that's where we start on
That
the
is
next
very
hike,
cool.
so that it continues.
But knowing that you probably aren't gonna get consistent people every
Right.
time either, so I get what you're going for and I love it, but I feel like you almost need to build that following first
Well,
and
even
get
if
your
it's different
regulars.
people,
I mean, we
Yeah.
started doing that within
with
the
Tim.
commission a
yeah.
couple of years ago, we just didn't get too far.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, because then it sort of is some incentive for them to go to the next one,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and if they joined late, they feel like they missed out, they don't wanna miss the next one, so I think that's cool.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be curious to know the social media access we have with the town, and if there's an opportunity to create some sort of a mini marketing plan to create the buzz and energy around these types of efforts, and I think you could see a lot of progress and a lot of support that way. Something I can certainly help with. I just don't know from if we have access to the town's social media handles or website, and how we can kind of interact and
Do you know
create
that?
something.
We could,
I would talk to Allison,
We
but I
do
also
have-
think that they are realizing like the lack of a newspaper is really hurting this town. So maybe if they could get, I felt like one of the recent Board of Selectmen meetings, they were really looking into possibly bringing something like a paperback, because where are people finding this information out?
Yeah,
So-
that's 100%. So maybe even consider our own social media handles so that we can kind of control the narrative and what we want to promote.
I was gonna say, I was thinking that same thing, I mean, it seems like it would be nice if there was some communication outlet that we could have, that, if we just wanna send a message about hikes or whatever, I don't know what form that would take, but it's worth thinking about.
I don't know much about any of it, but the town does have a Facebook
Well,
site
and
or
there are
whatever,
some
and
pages in
anybody
town.
can put anything they want on it. You can put advertising
Yeah.
for functions or whatever within,
Mhm.
I mean, as long as it's town related.
And Tony has also mentioned that if we have, when we have like our description and our schedule together, they can put space in the newsletter for us.
That'd be great. So I
So,
guess I
The
think,
question is, are we meeting in the morning, afternoon? What are we thinking?
good question.
I am up at 5 a.m.
Well, I think when
Ben is
school's
not.
I
out,
think the,
morning
I
may
think
work.
the early after, I mean,
Think
late
now.
afternoon is great because it's still light, it's,
Right.
people are finished, they like to just sort of relax and go on a little hike.
You mean on a weekday?
Pardon?
On a weekday or on
Could be on a weekday,
a
could be.
weekend? It's tricky to figure out the
Weekends are
timing.
pretty full,
Right.
so.
I think you can alternate, try different times and see where you're getting the better response.
And maybe it depends on the schedule of whoever's gonna lead the hike.
Right.
Let them pick.
Ask them first.
I will
Who wants
see
to
you guys
lead
at
the May-
sunrise.
Does anyone want to choose the May hike?
Yes,
Oh, good.
I do.
Great.
My recommendation is we try to go in the middle of the month, so maybe like the, Saturday following our.
Not Mother's Day.
You're gonna do
Or
a
Mother's
weekend?
Day.
I don't know when Mother's Day is. Quite honestly.
That's typically a Sunday, so
Yeah.
we could do
Mother's
Saturday.
Day's the 11th.
That's a Sunday though, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like a Saturday
Yeah. At 4?
at 4. I'm thinking Saturday at 4. Way to read my mind. So that Saturday that's after ours.
Meeting?
TBD.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, because we meet on the 8th. Okay, great.
Um,
All right.
May
do we know
10th,
where you
you're
want to
saying?
hike?
Do I? Do you?
Well,
Must be the cake.
Bronwyn, what?
No, I'm thinking, there's another hike happening, well, you guys said in June, there's gonna be, the first weekend in June, there's gonna be the trails.
Land trust
This
or the,
land trust is on National Trails Day.
Do they know which one they're going for?
They're doing Bishop West,
Bishop West.
Up above.
starting at the Darling House, going towards, well, up West Rock, down, around in there.
So let's see
So
if
that's
we.
afterwards. So
After what?
that would be after this May hike.
So what
Yes.
what trails lead up to the Darling House?
You have the whole ridge where that they're doing after Earth Day lead to them.
that cow path too, right? You go down, that's that really steep, like through Bethany. I think you can get on Peck Hill and that section that goes,
That's Eldersley on Peck Hill.
not the Eldersley, I'm sorry, not Peck Hill. It's
You're
off
got
of
Seymour Road going up
yep.
into the lodge.
Yep.
So are you saying, what is the segment of trail prior to the Darling House?
Yeah.
And you're saying it is,
The one off of
Cowpath?
Peck Hill.
It goes from,
Not Peck Hill, off of Seymour Road, right?
it actually,
no,
That seems
which,
too far
which are we
away.
going
it goes
clockwise
from,
or counterclockwise?
well, it goes from Dillon Road actually to Clark Road. But you
Dylan,
can cut down to the Darling House. From,
that's different than Bishop West.
it's Bishop East, they call it.
Oh,
Shall I get a map and show you?
So we should
Yes.
do Bishop East.
That's pretty steep too.
That's the one that
right?
they're doing with the lime kiln, the day after the Earth Day. They're doing Bishop East.
Okay.
They're doing Bishop West on National Trails Day.
maybe we should do Sperry Road and Sperry,
That's different.
She's gonna get the map.
Map. She's not.
we're getting
No, let's
educated
continue
here.
to drive blind through this. I mean, it's testing Barbara's knowledge of all the trails in
Right.
town. Which is
I know
impressive,
the
by
trails,
the
I
way.
don't know what they're called though.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Actually, since I know so much, I have it backwards.
I was gonna just say,
Oh, thank goodness.
Bishop
East
West is the
Darling
one
House.
at Dart.
Bishop East is
So they are doing Bishop West on this walk. On the,
They're doing,
after Earth Day.
they're doing Bishop West.
Yeah.
They're also doing Bishop, they're doing Bishop East on
Well, maybe
On
we
the-
should do a
on the
different
Trail
day.
Day?
on the
National
National
Trail
Trail
Day.
Day. They're doing Bishop East.
Where does Bishop East end?
It loops around West Rock, comes back out. to
Oh,
Darlington.
okay. So, and Bishop
And Bishop
West
West
goes up to the kiln.
goes up, well, it goes up Clark Road, and goes in Clark Road, goes all the way along the ridge to the kiln.
Always wanted
And
to-
past.
So there's
the kiln.
Bethany Farms Trail, right? Does that come right
So
after
then the
it?
next thing
No,
would be
that's
Sperry
where-
Road. Wouldn't be the Sperry Road be the next
Be
one?
there,
Yeah, so that would be the continuation would be Sperry Road.
but I'm not sure what they call that.
Sperry Road, and then does it go up through Lake Chamberlain? Is that part of it?
That's the problem, it's not on these maps.
These maps are really
Amity
good.
to Dillon Road. They are good. Lake Chamberlain.
Once we have the details finalized, I'm happy to work
Okay.
with the
All right.
Tony to get it in the newsletter. I'll find out about
Great.
social, maybe come up with a plan to create our own in the meantime.
Create a little placard maybe of the Fitzgerald property, so they can tell people, because that's where people walk most of the
One
time.
that might be fun is a Newton Road one, nobody knows that one.
Newton Road. Okay. Well, maybe we
Where's the
should.
Newton Road one?
It's beyond, it's
On the
beyond
other
the
side?
side, it's
Chamberlain
beyond
one
the
right
high
now.
school. And it and there's some properties over there beyond the high
Okay, so we're
school.
gonna
Oh,
figure out which
nice.
trail on May 10th at
Huh.
4 p.m. that
And that's a short
Diana's
one.
gonna lead.
It's not long, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Diana.
people will join him. Will Rachel join you?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm just gonna say,
As
I'd
long
like
as
to
it's
point
Some
out
wetlands,
that
some
geographically,
have no
I
bridges,
am
routes, or
not
recommends-
the best person to follow on a
Sweat.
trail.
Rachel
So,
is.
I think
You shouldn't
No,
publicize
no, no,
it.
no.
Whole
I'll keep a
Not
GPS.
6 months.
I signed
We will-
up then.
We'll try to join.
Easy.
It is
Perfect.
the height of sports season.
No, I am looking at the one on Dillon Road here, and that's the Lake Chamberlain one in Woodbridge. It comes
That's
down
the,
from.
that's the Sperry Farm one.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. All right.
They don't even have a map for it.
Okay. Should we move on?
sure.
Okay, but we got this in the works, and the idea is every month. But we'll let
Start ev-
Trails Day do it June, and so we redo it in July.
So you're gonna do May and July?
Yeah, and that's what we're committing to so far. Okay, and then we'll do Massaro in August with you.
Okay, that
Okay.
works.
With Joy.
Do you have a
Does it
date in
connect?
mind?
No, but we'll get there.
Okay, I'm just gonna be out of town for a week of that.
Okay, let us
Yeah,
know.
okay.
All right, so we're moving on to old business. And the Plan of Conservation and Development draft report status. Do we know anything about that? We do know that the state has adopted its Plan of Conservation and Development just today, Ben told us, and I have not had a chance to look at it. Have you looked at it, Ben?
Just sort of skim through it.
Uh-huh,
I mean, we had preview copies of it before, so I recognize some of the figures, but I didn't go through it in a lot of detail.
okay. But maybe we could look at it by next month, would that make sense, and to think about that? Okay, we'll figure out who's gonna focus on that.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's a lot of focus on both, opportunity housing and how to do that in an environmentally conscious way. So I think that's, it's
Okay.
important for everybody to read
And
that.
that's what I'd heard too,
Mhm.
much more emphasis on housing than had been in the past.
There is, but it's interesting because it's coming at a time when there will be no building supplies, or the cost of building supplies will be so high. It'll
That's
be
what I
cost
think.
prohibitive.
Yep, that's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see that pretty soon. So basically, we don't know this. Kathy, do you know anything about the POCD and its status state?
It looks like there is a community workshop on April 8th from
That's
4
right.
to
Mhm.
7
That's
in the
actually
central meeting room
A good thing.
right here, which is coming soon. A community workshop summary report is available for review to the right, although I don't really, I don't see that. I don't-
We haven't been contacted ever since we gave them all our recommendations. They've never communicated a
That's
thing
correct.
with us.
We sent over those recommendations.
And we revised
I think,
them.
Ben, you sent them over, right? Did you hear a response from anybody?
I can't remember if I sent them or if you sent them, Sharon.
I hope they got there.
If I sent them, I haven't heard a response.
I haven't heard a response.
Yeah.
So we're definitely not knowing what they incorporated from
Mhm.
our recommendations, and maybe we should call Allison and try to figure that out. Or is she the point person? No, Chris is the point person.
Isn't it Karen Crosby?
No, that's for the-
That's for the
So
country
it's
club.
Chris Sullivan.
No,
Chris
it's gonna
Sullivan,
be
there we go.
Chris.
Yep. So, yeah, the
And that's
second
what-
POCD open house is April 8th.
Yeah, and on the planning and
We should
zoning
do that
commission
before.
We
website,
haven't heard.
they have it
from anybody.
prominently displayed.
The April 8th meeting,
Correct.
but they don't have any data about what POCD is so far.
Sorry, Rachel, what did you just say?
So the Town Planning and Zoning Commission does have 2025 POCD pretty prominently displayed on their website. And it says to view project timelines and remain informed throughout the process, reference the Woodbridge POCD 2025 update guide. And they talk about the, but this seems outdated because it's referencing an October 8th meeting.
Legal
But maybe
notices.
that's a
Let's
typo.
see.
I believe it's,
If you click on the link, they have a page now.
right, and the page goes into a lot of detail, as well as
Their
the project
timeline.
timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But the open house information, I'm not sure if that's an error or what, but it does say October 8th. Under the
Can
2025
anybody,
header.
is anyone planning on going to that meeting?
I can certainly try.
Okay.
There's also a public notice that's out right now for a public hearing to be held by the Woodbridge Zoning Board of Appeals on April 14th at 7 p.m. in the central meeting room for a variance of table 4.1 on bulk and dimensional data to allow 3.5 building coverage where the maximum coverage is 30%. For the files, please see the foregoing application available on the town hall and land use office.
So that's a town hearing,
Yep.
public hearing.
Mhm.
Okay, that seems like it would be good for us to be represented there too.
So just so everyone knows, if you go into where the agenda and minutes are for the committees, they've added a new one you can look at called legal notices and public hearings.
It's a good idea for them to do.
Yeah, so there's another one on April 9th.
For what?
Regarding Board of Selectmen is a public hearing on April 9th at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall Central Meeting Room regarding a proposed new ordinance under Part 1, the Administrative Ordinances, Chapter 75, Municipal Agencies to be listed, establishing a housing committee. Commissions, establishing the housing commission. So it looks like they want to elevate the housing committee or subcommittee to a commission.
Correct.
Interesting.
And so a copy of the proposed ordinance is on file in the office of town clerk. This is interesting because, as you may recall, the chair of the housing committee reached out to meet with us and we responded we would welcome that.
I met with her
Okay.
and we took a walk and just discussed our different perspectives on housing and if there was any overlap, and there's some, but I let her know that my emphasis is a lot on protecting open space in the earth and I understand the need for housing, but I'd rather have it happen on places that weren't pristine or somewhat pristine piece of land.
Already developed, right? So, maybe, I don't know how this commission feels, but maybe we'd like to extend, an invitation to the housing committee members to join us to have a co-meeting, co-discussion, just on various topics.
I would say be very clear about what the topics are,
Sure.
Okay.
you know,
So
have a
if we
idea of
are
what you want
generally
to get out of
open
it.
to it, maybe you and I can reach out to Kathy Hunter and try to figure out at what point that might make more sense to do.
You know, there's also, you know, like meeting facilitators that can help with this sort of thing. You know, that might be worth looking into as well. Because I think everybody knows we all need to work together, and there's sort of no formal structures in town for that to happen, and so I think that you know, it's easy to become isolated from each other, and you know, sometimes it takes some extra help to come back together, and you know, so we can have, you know, if there's some sort of structured meeting facilitator or something like that that can sort of help us, you know, figure
Moderate.
out, you know, where we are,
Mhm.
and you know, sort of moderate and that sort of thing. That
We
might be
probably don't have a
worthwhile.
lot of budget for that, but I think it would be worth
Mhm.
talking. Who do you think we should talk to, Allison?
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Could the
Which-
town argue though that that's the role of all the consultants we have on the,
No.
It isn't
'cause
their
Well, I
role
think those are very
to kind of-
specific
Yeah.
projects. I think what we're talking about,
We
like,
could
is
use a consultant for that, but the consultants are not here to do that.
And also, they aren't mediators.
Mhm.
They're.
They're planners, they're, you know, like, even the town planner would be like the closest thing maybe, but
So maybe,
it's not.
Diana, do you wanna work on that?
Yeah.
Or Ben?
Do I ever? I'll do that next
Okay.
week while I'm in New Orleans. I will just focus on that.
Okay.
And then there is a third public notice that's up, just so everybody is aware, on the Town Planning and Zoning Commission, for a special, exemption, for 67 Pease Road, which is a location where they currently have an adult, daycare. Oh, sorry, they want to have an adult daycare. My
67 Pease
67
Road.
on
Pease
the
Road.
way to Peace Park?
So, I think with the
Oh.
my understanding of what the request is that there is, the residents who live there have 3, adults with, developmental disabilities. Am I saying this correctly? And, they are looking to open up, their home to, you know, 3 or 4 more.
Is this like on either side of one side of the
So
graveyard?
Johnson Road,
Oh,
east
Johnson.
veers to the left. You go down that road, it's on the right-hand side. And, it appears to me like, as a resident of that area, that they're already operating as
Mm-hmm.
a facility like that, and I don't know if this is their existing children or whatnot, but, they are in the neighborhood and,
Mm-hmm.
you could see the folks that they're caring
That
for.
doesn't have much conservation implication.
No.
It doesn't, no, unless they're looking to consider how the environment is very helpful and nurturing. Yeah, I don't think there's
Okay.
anything that they're looking to change as far as that.
Okay. I think we should put into our regular meeting looking at those legal notices.
Yeah,
I think that's brilliant.
okay. But just to go back to TP and Z,
The new application.
yes, there is a new application that was submitted. Attorney, I don't wanna say his name wrong, but I will try. Enough. For Angelo, Malisi, for the 804 Fountain Street, the application for a special exemption site plan to construct a 96-unit multifamily development pursuant to ... Woodbridge regulations. A special exemption to modify the requirement for a gable hip and gambrel roof, or
And what date is
gambrel.
that?
They were just noticing that as of Monday, March 31st, they are in receipt and discussion of appropriate action regarding the new application. and the site development plans, so those should be posted somewhere.
The meeting is on Monday, April 7th.
April 7th, is that the public hearing or they're just
There
receiving?
isn't a public hearing.
There has to be.
There has to be a public hearing, but
It's not listed, it's listed as new business.
Yeah, I think they
Okay, so
received
it's
the
gonna be a month
application and then
later.
scheduled
So
it.
sometime
Yeah.
in May.
It has to be.
May. I think it's May.
May, I think they're accepting it, maybe?
the commission, the notice given the regular commission TP&Z meeting will be held on Monday, April 7th at 6:30 PM here. So next Monday at 6:30 here. They will be receiving the application.
Right. Okay, and they'll schedule a public hearing at
Um,
that point.
There is also an application for development on 110 Bradley Road for a full-sized soccer field with turf and lights.
The turf,
Mm-hmm.
PV, what is it?
Nothing like
Where's
grass
this,
when you
Bradley?
can have fake grass. 110 Bradley Road. This is by Everson.
And they have the soccer facility
Think
down
so.
in the industrial area of Woodbridge already, which is an indoor facility, so it looks like they're looking to build an outdoor facility
With fake turf.
with lights and big turf.
Yeah, it's too bad they're using
Yeah.
fake turf, you know.
Yeah,
turf.
otherwise,
Otherwise it'd be great.
yeah.
Yeah, especially since it's so not good.
And when is that? When's that?
That will also be, they received that also on March 31st.
that's
So
gonna be
I
in May.
imagine that will be, this is for their Monday, April 7th meeting. They will be receiving both of these
Okay.
applications, and then there is the public hearing on the 67 Pease Road, which doesn't seem,
So relevant. Okay.
Yeah, I know the issue with those turfs is, you know, there's often a lot of PFAS in there, which they're finding is a major environmental problem, and they're usually not recyclable.
yeah.
And so they
And
end up.
they land there forever, right? They don't
Well, I
degrade.
Well, they
think-
do
I think
break
they
down.
wear out after 20 years or so, and then they ship it to a developing country and dump it somewhere in
Make
their
it somebody
environment.
else's problem, yeah.
So
Yeah. So we have, there's two applications that they're receiving, one for the Fountain Street 96 unit multifamily apartment development, and then another one for a fake soccer field with lights on Bradley Road. And then they will be having a work session on the excavation work happening at 110 Luciani Street. And then also, they will be talking about the application received by Stephen Mason to amend the zoning regulations, to repeal it in its entirety, to amend the sections on 3.2, the opportunity housing, enacted on December 2nd. So it looks like they're having a working session on that. And then a public hearing for that application has been scheduled for the commission's regular meeting on Monday, May 5th.
Monday, May
Ooh.
5th?
Monday, May 5th.
Mm-hmm. And then the Baldwin Development LLC for 20 Lunar Drive. There's an application for site development and special permit for excavation, removal, filling, grading, processing earth products. Another public hearing on special exemption for 20 Lunar Drive is happening on Monday, May 5th. Also for 23 Lunar Drive with the Baldwin Development.
What's the
LLC.
Baldwin do?
I don't know, but they have two applications in for site development and special permit on Lunar Drive. 20 and
Where's
23.
Lunar Drive?
Down off of Bradley Road, where the.
You mean
where
towards
the-
West Rock?
The animal shelter is. it's
Okay.
outside.
Mm.
All right, so we should review this each
Oh,
time.
looks, correspondence received, a letter dated March 21 from Ben Carlson. Copy of the letter of notification for the Connecticut Sighting Council from SIA, exempt modifications of 1990 Litchfield Turnpike originally approved by the Connecticut State Council. Work should remove 9 antennas. A request from Toll Brothers Land Development for the release of the bond on file. And any other business which may legally come before the commission.
Okay, so it sounds like in the future, I know our numbers are lean, but we should have somebody looking at this and summarizing it for us each time, don't you think? Do people agree with that? This is important the legal notices would be good for us to review each time and make sure
Yeah,
we stay
this,
abreast of
just
that.
to be clear, this was just posted April first, so.
Out of the press.
Hot
So
off
the-
the presses, folks.
There's also somewhere on the website that you can sign up for alerts. So anytime they post minutes or anytime they post agendas, it'll send you an email. I've signed up for a few of them. I signed up for TPZ, housing, some other ones. So that it's pretty useful.
Okay, maybe you could help me do that.
Cause you don't read enough.
Yeah, I don't have enough to read, so I just
Okay.
keep signing up for more.
But if it's posted a day before the meeting, then you're still not gonna have enough time,
Mhm.
despite the alert.
Okay, so those are the different updates that are happening with
And
the
this started with
TP&Z and the plan of conservation, and development. We have not heard back.
Right, and we will, is anyone planning on going to, you're going to the April 8th meeting, hopefully?
Yes,
Okay, and you can report back to us, and I'm gonna try to go also.
the TPZ meeting,
The
Monday?
plan of POCD meeting.
I'm planning to go to the TPZ meeting on Monday.
Oh, good. I'm planning on going, hopefully, on the POCD meeting on the 8th.
I'll try.
Okay, so
That's
next
the
month we'll
one,
have more to talk about
April
the
8th
POCD
from
meeting.
4 to 7 in the central meeting room. Is that where they are first posting the POCD draft? Does anyone know?
I
Well-
think so, it's an open house.
Wonderful. So it's a reveal and an open house.
Do you wanna come with me?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be in New Orleans.
Aw.
Do I ever want to go with you?
I know, shoot. Okay, birds on the state registry. Ben and Barbara.
Well, we just talked for 2 minutes, before the meeting. I have the name and email of the person from Deep,
Great.
with whom we should be corresponding, and
And will they take, so what you told me is that anyone can tell Deep about birds they've sighted on a specific place.
anyone
Correct.
can. I have a
But
copy of
we
it.
have people who have cited it and we've gathered information. Can we then secondarily share that with them? Or do we need the people who actually saw them?
There's an application you can find online. I've already given it to the 2 people who have given us lists.
Oh, good.
It's a little bit cumbersome because you have to do an application for every single species you see. You can't just make a list of what you've seen, you've gotta do one for each one.
Okay.
Um,
Are they willing
although you
to-
don't
are
have
they
to
willing to
do
do that?
one for every time you see one.
Okay.
Um,
Are they willing to do that?
yes, they seem to be very willing.
Okay, so would you be willing to follow up and make sure they do that?
I
as
will
you know,
find out
because it's,
how they are.
it's time
progressing.
sensitive in that
Well,
there's
it's
a lot.
not, no, this really has nothing to do with, it's just a list that says, anybody, you can see
I
it.
know, but as important information for the Woodbridge Country Club, if they've had sightings, that would be information that I think would be useful for us to be able to share with the public and with the people who are making those decisions, that there are actually birds that are endangered or threatened.
should have
this at But every
meeting.
Person that we're going to correspond with is the person that's going to come up with how we progress or how we proceed as far
But
as.
since these decisions are gonna be made about the Woodbridge Country Club in the next month or two, don't you think it's time sensitive that we get that information to this person so that they can incorporate that in?
Absolutely. That's-
Okay, that's all I'm saying, is that it's more time
But you're
sensitive
talking
than
about
usual.
2 different things, that's all.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in this too, so I can help out with this. So that's great that you gave. So yeah, Barbara and I didn't get a chance to like talk about it. That's
Uh-huh.
great that you gave the forms to the birders. And I was actually thinking I would try and sit down with them or something and help them submit.
oh,
They
but,
would be
you know,
oh my
delighted.
God,
so yeah, I kind of wanted to try to facilitate it a little more.
They would be
Um,
delighted.
I
But I think the real thing we need to do is talk to this person whose email we were given.
yeah.
Because they help in
So I've been in contact with
putting
a
a stop to
couple
anything
of
happening.
deep people, but I'm not sure if it's the same person that you. So someone named Jane Seymour. Does
No.
that? That's okay. But
what's your person's name?
It's Karen, let me look it up here. If I happen to have it with me. We are Karen can't even read my, Zyko, Z-Y-K-O.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I've talked to them, so
Ben, you
we'll
can kind of
include
look
them.
into that and.
Yeah, and then there's also in this list that I've been talking to is Corey Folsom O'Keefe, who's the head of CT Audubon. And so she's had a bunch of sightings at the, so she's obviously a very credible birder. She's had sightings at the country club as well.
Oh.
So I've actually, the last time they were in here, they said that they updated this big database called eBird.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm behind on this, but I've got permission to download all the data for Connecticut. I've downloaded it and put it in the database, and I just need to kind of like go through it and collate all of the sightings of rare birds and then associate those with the different users.
And then help them do the applications to then get it to.
Yeah, so
this
then we
person.
can say like, okay, here's the 6 birds that we have for you. We need to submit, this, and hopefully, once I've done a couple of the forms, it'll be faster to kind of do that.
Yeah, they're,
So
That's great,
I'm
Ben.
happy to take it on. I should have been further along on this process, but I've just been haven't been able to get to it. But I know it's important to do it. So
That'd be great. Where do you think we could be in a month?
we should, I think once we contact this one person that I was told, and they're in charge of all species, it's not just birds, so,
So-
if you find shall we say, a salamander in a vernal pool, they can stop all progress from there on, at least while the vernal pool is in existence, or in other instances completely. If they're nesting, if birds are nesting,
So in the next month or so, we might want to even encourage some of those birders to go out since it's a nesting time, like
the two birders that,
Yeah, the
that we've been
activity.
talking about are totally active. They are out every day.
oh, that's
Looking.
cool. Cool. Okay.
One
Yeah.
of them has records from 4 years, 5 years, 6 years.
So Barbara, I just need to get their contact information from
I
you.
remember that too.
And the gentleman who had it all handwritten, right?
Yeah, that's
Maybe
one of
you
them.
guys actually need to meet.
Yeah, we plan to do that.
We were
but
trying to,
it didn't work
Okay.
out. It's my fault.
All right.
not necessarily.
Who's going to initiate making that time? That sounds like a good idea because.
How's tomorrow?
Sharon's getting excited. She's like trying to make a match.
That's right.
So we'll make it happen. We
Okay,
promise.
cool. Alrighty, so that's in progress, and I think that's really key. Woodbridge Country Club TAC update.
So one of the,
Sorry.
Sorry. Well,
Oh, no, that's right.
I was also thinking on this bird thing because it's time sensitive. We might. I don't know if it's worth like just writing a letter to the board or maybe even doing a public comment and just say like this is something that we're working on and just be aware that it seems to be very credible sightings that we're trying to officially make them happen, but
Do we want to vote on whether we should do that? Want to make a motion?
sure. I make a motion to update the Board of Selectmen on our
Or submit a
On our
memo?
effort to get these bird sightings submitted to the Connecticut database.
Is this in request for them to wait on making any decisions until that information is?
At least knowing that might be pertinent to their future decision making.
Yeah, and I think the other.
Sorry, you're in the middle of making a motion, so I was trying to amend your motion for you.
Yeah, sure, you could amend it, yeah.
You have to say as so stated, and then it will be approved,
As
and then
so
somebody.
stated, yeah, so what, am I still making a motion right now?
Yes.
Kathy's given up.
Well, okay, maybe we'll,
BOS on our effort bird, the bird sightings submitted to be able to submit to the Connecticut database. That's what I've got so far.
With a request.
For them to take that into consideration,
Prior to any
final decision.
final decisions on the property, as the information could be pertinent to
Making a decision.
making a decision. So you say as so stated.
As so stated.
Seconded.
In favor? You're not in favor? Are we
Bird
voting?
vote.
Okay, any abstentions?
I'd say.
Okay. All right, one abstention.
That's one.
So I think the other important thing here is that we could ask them to remove that statement that's in the current, so the consultants right now are have a statement in there that there's no rare or endangered species. I think we should at least,
According to the official
yeah,
list
I think
from DEEP.
I think given the evidence, like if you were to look at the weight of evidence right now, you would fall on the side of there probably are some sightings, and they're still provisional, but I think in the least they should not make that statement anymore, or at least say something like, there might not be, but there might be. I don't, it's like
Right. So-
I think that they can't make
Just
such
remove
a
the
strong
statement
just
completely.
remove that statement or something along
Because-
those
Okay,
lines.
so that can be part of your letter.
Yeah, so
Right.
I can put that in there.
Is that everyone agree with
Yeah,
that?
I agree with that.
Rachel? Ben?
Sorry, are we amending the motion again?
I think.
Or are we, making a motion to add?
I think it's all part of what,
Just to
I'm gonna,
clarify.
yeah, that this is sort of further
Okay.
information,
Okay,
So the rest of the memo will include that.
yeah.
all right, sounds good. Anything else, Ben? Barbara?
I think that's it.
You're good? Okay, the Woodbridge Country Club TAC update. It's me, but it could be, oh, it is me, you weren't at the meeting.
Well, I was at the meeting.
Sort of. Yes, we're at the meeting. Well, we had a meeting for 2 hours talking about the updated presentation, and they went through lots of ideas and the feasibility of it being a hotel and the feasibility of it being senior housing and and open space, but it came down to 8 different plans, and they were called A1, B, C1, C2, C3, C4. And A1 and A are a I have it for you and I can forward it to everybody, and I probably should have done that, but it was a recreational area and then 30 or 40 houses in the area of the
They
Woodbridge
had
Country
no
Club.
houses at all.
A1 didn't. No, I think
A had no
A
houses.
had no houses, A1 had a,
A1 didn't even have the rec area on the corner of Johnson and Ansonia Road. It took everything away and had
right, so
just,
So I
A
guess
was the least.
that was one of my questions is, was there an option with no houses? Because when I looked at the options, it seemed like, which seemed a little weird for me, because if you're going to, present
This
the
is why
potential
they-
options, it seems like a no house option, even if the town doesn't choose
added
it.
in the
So-
A1.
Okay, so they did put that in there, okay.
One Board of Selectmen asked that be added, so. A has
A has the
the,
least, the triplex units, 30 units of housing. In where the country
where the
club
country club is.
is, or
And
the
golf course,
clubhouse
and
is
the
now.
tennis court.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But you're right, there is no more option of zero
nothing,
housing.
0.
Yeah, that seems strange to me, because you want to give people a full set of reasonable choices, and so,
Well, it's just, it's sort of like, this is where it's been going, is that,
So, if I can jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sharon and I have been at the TAC meetings since the first one that happened, and all of them, afterwards. The original TAC meeting, there was a question that arose, is, the whole point of this about, and I'm paraphrasing, is the whole point of this about just trying to determine if, housing is feasible here on the country club? To which one of the town leaders responded, no, housing doesn't even have to be a part of this. And it's not a requirement. We were very clear about that in our application.
And that was in the RFP as well.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
it's part of
so-
the original.
Since then,
The original RFP.
Mhm.
and so since then, what we've seen is us move further and further away from that description and closer to how do we develop all over the country club? And how, do we package this up? And so my frustration, being on the TAC and being a part of this process, is that what we say about conservation, what we say about the natural resources and what our requests are often fall on deaf ears, or are dismissed. So several times we had asked for the evaluation, the economic evaluation of the benefits of conserving the natural resources there and understanding the economic benefits for the town doing that, as well as the environmental. And every single time that this committee meets, it is clear that we move further and further away from any type of conservation, and everything starts to get bucketed into development, light development, housing, businesses, whatever.
Recreation.
And so now we're at the point where even on the survey that's out there now, there's absolutely no option
Oh,
for
there's a
you.
brand new survey that came out
Oh
today.
yeah, brand new survey came out yesterday. For like the 125 people who were there last night, and now just the idea of conservation entirely is sort of being swept away.
Well,
There's an option where you can pick to rank green space only, but even in the responses that they showed us in the last TAC meeting, which I think is what was like the straw that broke the camel's back as from what I saw, was everything that we had talked about from passive recreation had been bucketed into the town. Everybody in town wants recreation, and recreation and passive recreation mean two completely different things,
Yeah.
and they are not bucketed together. It is apples and oranges.
But
And
they
also,
they put
some
everything, if you looked at that picture I showed you all, was the most telling picture from the open house with the stickers. And the stickers are all loaded up on the open space and trails.
Hiking trails, yeah.
Well,
So that is, but they lumped all of that into
This tiny little
recreation. And you're
Yeah,
right, it's not the
that's
same
my
thing.
concern, is that the choices are not reflecting, the what the town would actually want.
Well,
And-
that's what I tried to
Correct.
point
And
out
by
very
not-
clearly, and I just wanted to, and I really did feel this
Poor,
was.
poor
fell on-
Sharon stayed in there for the
So,
2-hour
what I
meeting.
think the general consensus is they're leaving quite a bit of green open space, but like you said, it's kind of converted into recreation, it's converted into trails that are wheelchair accessibility, which I'm not opposed to that, but that does not help the habitat of these creatures and the sustainability and the pollinators. And so there's a real disconnect between interest in green space that can be utilized and green space that really is environmentally nurturing to the sustainability of the planet. And that's the part that continuously gets really dismissed.
Well, they're not here for that. They are so there was the RFP, and then there was a grant written that we were awarded that was actually for the Economic Development Council. So it was, that is what paid for these people, the bar grant. And that is to develop the country club in an economic kind of not, so like if we had gone, for instance, we could have written a grant, the town totally could have done this, that had conservation in mind. The same thing would be true. That consultant that we would have hired with those monies would have had more of a lens of looking at that property in a way to preserve it for perpetuity. We'd be looking at things like, how do you really revitalize or
Forest
take care of
management,
this
whatever.
forest, or have the migratory paths or the pollinator pathways, or we might even like look. There would probably is money out there, and the new POCD with the state of Connecticut, the language is there. They're thinking about this, is to undo the wrongs of the past of what happened that were racist, housing, the way we segregated in this state, but also how we stole the land from the indigenous people. There would have been an opportunity, I think there's still an opportunity to make that right, and to maybe consider taking that land and giving it to indigenous people that still are here in Connecticut, that could use the land and maybe revitalize the land better than we can.
But the point is, this project,
This
tack,
project
this
is their
exercise-
slant, their whole thing is to look at it in a different lens, and yet I keep hearing it, and I know you're all hearing it, is like, oh, but we're saving 100 acres.
Yeah.
And that's not the point. The point is that, if you look at some of the slides, one of them,
Yeah, C4
several
has
of them
like
are so
200 houses.
they're so bad. Well, not only that, they literally ignore migratory paths or any kind of wildlife corridors, or so but that's how it happens. It's like when you invite the enemy in, right? They're gonna just keep infiltrating, and before you know it, it's all gonna be built up. So
So, yeah, one of them they were very proud of last night, talking about how because they had housing down here and they had housing up there, they made one where the housing connected, so it could be all one community, so the housing just goes across the whole thing.
Which fragments the
the habitat.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's
So,
the same
I think
reason why
that-
you don't have this 5-story building on Fountain Street, because it literally is a collision with you wait and see how many birds are gonna collide with that structure.
Yeah, and just having the housing there, there's a major anthropogenic halo, on the surrounding area. That people have cats who kill songbirds, there's light pollution, there's noise pollution.
Right, and
so-
that was significantly under-emphasized, and I think there's a
And
opportunity for us
devalued.
to educate people, because I'm concerned that they're putting all this energy in, and truly the people of Woodbridge have made it clear they want open space, and they've somehow, even though I gave them a whole thing, that open space does not mean a gazebo and a hunting
Manicured
lodge
lawn
and a.
Yeah,
and-
right.
And
Pickleball
Bocce
they
court.
haven't
courts.
really heard that, but I think that a lot of the people of Woodbridge have heard it, so it's gonna be a real waste resources.
Yeah, that's my
If-
worry as well.
And especially if you go to C3, C4, which are these different plans, which people heard about last night, nobody has been saying that's what, there's a very small, a few things have very strong constituents. One is, different recreational things, not that I am disparaging of it, but there might not be huge numbers of people with each of these, but collectively, there's a lot of people. So how to parse that out and make it recreationally versatile so that it can accommodate lots of people without taking up a ton of space.
Yeah, I feel like there's already development there that could have tennis courts and basketball courts,
Right.
and that's much better than
There are
putting a
tennis
bunch of
courts there
apartments.
already.
Or finding it in putting it in a new place.
So I do think, given the level of momentum, that it's gonna be very hard, though I would like to curb, Plan B, C, and C1, 2, C2, C3, C4. So I think we need to come up with a strategy that we can really share with the public that can truly preserve as much of that land as possible, and not make it a park for the 200 houses that are gonna be there, which is how could it not be, right? It would be just,
I
Must
would
be
also
nice.
make there's strength in numbers, and I would just make the suggestion that, in all of the studies, all the surveys, all of the everythings that we've gone to, we know that the ones that have all of this housing, this is not, and the type of housing that it would be, is not the wish or the desire of the people of Woodbridge. There might be there's a handful of them that do
Yeah,
want this,
it-
right?
it's-
But the majority do not, and it's been very clear. So
well,
this is my question. Is this gonna go to referendum? Because then, to your point, Sharon, all of this work was for naught because the people will just vote. No, thank you.
That's-
And they've done it for almost 20 years, and they'll just do it again. But what's worrying me is that it feels like maybe there's this loophole that's gonna happen. And I don't know if it's when we retain the land, we don't sell the land to a developer, but we don't have to have a referendum.
I don't think that the people of Woodbridge are gonna be happy if they don't get to speak about it, because it's been so, I mean,
Well,
125
and I
people.
think it's very clear that the people of Woodbridge are speaking and are not being heard.
And by the way, I have heard
Sorry, I'm raising my
several
hand for one.
people say that the commission, the Conservation Commission isn't speaking loudly enough, and we need to get it out to the public that we are trying to speak and we're not being listened to. Because several people are saying, you know, what's happened to the Conservation Commission, why aren't they? And there are ways for our word to get out. As a matter of fact, we probably should go and speak at the Board of Selectmen meeting in public speaking, every one of us. In a
Absolutely.
line, to go and say, we represent the Conservation Commission and this and this and this, and we just, all of us do it.
So, yes,
It is so-
and bring your friends and read the Connecticut POCD that just came out and that is officially adopted, because there is language in it that it did put climate change at the center. And I do believe that when you're looking at, I'm just looking at these images right here, when you see this lush green, if you take that away and even if there's 100 acres,
Well, it's gonna
the
change
more
everything.
the more development you have, the more habitat you lose, the more farmlands you give up, et cetera, et cetera.
And-
This is not going towards the goals of the POCD for Connecticut for the next
I
5
just
years
wanna make
either.
one other point that actually
And-
my husband made in a letter, is that where the idea of development is also gonna change everyone's appreciation of looking at a green space when they drive by, which to a lot of people, that's helpful. So if you have houses all along Ansonia and houses all along Woodside, is that the name of it?
Mhm.
Woodfield.
You're gonna, that whole sense that we live in a more rural place will be significantly diminished. And that's not invalid. So I guess what we're all saying is that we get from the public that they would like us to be standing up more for the land. And I guess what I'm experiencing, and I felt it in the TAC meeting, and I felt it each time, is that I feel like I'm kind of being shuffled off to the side. And I'm personally confused about that, because everyone on the planet, at least most people should know, that we cannot sustain our lives without a healthy land. And ecosystem, and it is our responsibility in our small piece of land in our town to be putting attention into that. The POCD wants it, the past POCD has wanted it, we want it, the people of Woodbridge wants it. Why is it that there are certain people that want housing on somewhat pristine land that have so much sway, and that the taking care of the land has such a secondary thing, and it's all in service of man rather than service of protecting the environment? And I just think that's what we're commissioned, from my perspective, that's what we're commissioned to do, is we're here to speak, to protect those micro environments and the macro environments that are essential for us to live on a healthy planet and a healthy town. And I think that we need to communicate that with as many people who are trying to create as much housing as possible for their economic, not to mention that our town, many of the resources can't deal with another 200 or 300 towns, two
Well,
or 300 houses,
no.
and
The
Those
thousands that they
alternatives, those C2, C3, forget about the school, we don't have,
Fire
We're not
department,
set
police
up for it.
services.
And
Not to mention, you start with 200 or 300, and then it's,
The
let's add
floodgates
more,
open.
let's add more, let's add more, let's add more, and before you know it, all of that land is gone,
I
and the
think
birds can live
one
somewhere
thing-
else.
One thing
we're
that
not
we as a commission can do is come up with, and I have a possibility, of how our feelings can get out to the greater people of Woodbridge, so that they don't think that they're kind of standing alone, that there is
Sure.
a group, that the Conservation Commission is absolutely behind keeping this.
Can you use
But
monies
May I-
that's back to
in
my
your
point
budget?
with the
Can
social,
you-
like, I
is
feel
there
like
any
we
budget?
should have our own channel
Mm-hmm.
to start to talk about these things,
So
big
Rachel,
and small,
can
or,
we deem you the social
Ben,
I
media
would love
Can
goddess?
you do a
if I have your
Tuesday
blessing.
podcast?
I mean,
Yeah,
just
right.
posting this PowerPoint, this 43
I think
page
Rachel would be great.
PowerPoint from the
Rachel-
TAC meeting, I mean, slide 7 clearly shows the wishes of this town and the residents who live here. But we are, like you said, serving a minority and we
So-
don't know why.
Maybe we can take this moment and act on supporting Rachel being the social media arm of our little commission, and she can learn about that and figure out how to communicate with the public more.
And Diana's arm's getting tired, so let's
I
let
I
her
know.
speak.
Now I am holding
Speaking
it.
of arms.
Now I am on my
Okay,
elbow
Diana.
here, patiently waiting my line.
We
returning
want to hear
line.
from you, Diana.
Yes.
You know, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, right? So my recommendation is that my thoughts on what I have experienced in this TAC exercise is that conservation is being dismissed. The town's people's voice is being, their wishes are being undermined and disregarded, and I would support our commission hearing everyone's opinions if we made a statement saying that we do not endorse this process, we do not endorse these reports, we do not endorse these recommendations, we do not endorse this.
To whom, when, how,
Your only thing is to the Board of
To the Board
Selectmen,
of Selectmen,
to the Board of
but
Selectmen?
also, letting somehow
To
the
economic
whole,
development.
the whole town of Woodbridge know that, even though you're on the TAC and that you know, whatever grievances you have with the process, that, the process is happening, you don't really feel like you have input, and this finished product that we're about to receive in about a month's time is not endorsed by the Conservation Commission. Maybe sustainability agrees with you. Maybe you should go to the other members of the TAC and say, how about, does anybody else feel the same? Because I've watched your TAC meetings and it's not just conservation that's being disregarded, it's many of the,
It would be
Okay.
stronger if it was multiple commissions. And,
It would.
And I mean, maybe it doesn't need to be, we don't endorse this, but we have serious concerns and here's what they are. And then if the concerns are not addressed and then it comes out, we can say, well, we don't endorse it, and we were pretty clear about why we don't.
But I think we can right now say that our concerns that we have expressed are not being looked into or
heard or recorded or considered.
represented.
Yeah, these are all issues that we
these
have,
are
yeah.
concerns that we have, issues we have, and nobody is listening, nobody is paying any attention, nobody is even looking at the concerns that we have. They're going absolutely the opposite way.
Yeah, the
For instance,
surprising
last
thing to
night
me-
it was stated that Coopop had on the website all kinds of information about the history of the
The country club.
country club. Nobody stated that the Conservation Commission had several reports from different agencies on their website, or on their part of the website, talking about conservation and so forth. That was not, and
Yeah,
I tried to tell the people that.
they
they
have
didn't
those
bother to say
reports
that.
though, because I've seen in some of the slides they sent out, I've seen some of the images from those reports. So they have the reports.
Oh, they have the reports, but they didn't tell the public last night that those exist. You know, if you want to weigh housing versus conservation, these reports are on the website, on the town website.
I think one of the other disturbing things I heard last night was from one of the selectmen, I can't remember who, but they said, you know, there's some type of housing that actually supports climate change.
That supports
Like there's a type of housing that, you know, isn't gonna contribute to climate change. Which I was like, wow, tell me what that is. Pretty unsustainable.
So, I
building.
think what we're occurring here is that now that this process has gone quite a while, the TAC and the C, we're realizing that it really isn't addressing what we had hoped it would address in a way that is responsible for the environmental benefit of that land.
Well, I also thought Andrea had asked this in the Board of Selectmen meeting. And we've talked about this before, there's technology now that can give you,
Quantitative.
some data that will let you know, like, what these trees do. Or, you know, whatever, the soils.
There's a great tool called iTree.
So it's not just about the trees and the carbon sequestration or anything like that. I mean, although that's really important, but we need to be able to quantify this land or any land moving forward in our land management,
There is,
to be able to say that, because once this is gone, it's gone. You can't put it back, right? And they need to be able to back that out of whatever they think, because they're seeing dollar signs. They're putting housing only because that's dollar signs. They're trying to
is a
solve a tax problem in this town,
Which is not
and they think
the
that,
way it,
well,
it's been proven over and
right.
over and over and
Right.
over again, that
except
doesn't happen.
except they're excited right now because they just had Toll Brothers put those houses down, and we're getting some tax revenue from that. So they're like, let's do more of that. And the state of Connecticut and the whole country is saying
$750,000
we need to
homes are not
build,
necessarily
build.
affordable.
And so they're like on that train. And so as passionate as we are about this, they are equally as passionate, as you saw when you met with Kathy Hunter, about the housing. And they will stop at nothing to get that housing. So somehow we need to come to, I don't want to say consensus or, you know, but look, we're going to have to figure it out because
Yeah, I think I personally anyway think that, you know, we can't just be a commission that says no all the time, you know, like, I would say that we do support housing of some form, but we need to do it in a smart way, you know, like building, you know, that new complex on Bradley, like, that's not a bad place for housing. I mean, that's already developed down there.
Right, there's a
you know,
pharmacy, there's gas stations, there's.
Well, exactly.
You know, the country club is a, you know, important habitat for the entire state of Connecticut. It's really unique, and so I was actually watching the Board of Selectmen meeting the other day, and I can't remember, you know, I don't know who it was, but they kind of just mentioned, like, the plot on Bradley Road was empty, and so we used that, and the country club's empty, and so we should use that, you know, so, but these are not at all the same thing.
it's a
you know.
false equivalency.
I mean,
Yeah, it's,
Oh,
you
wow,
know,
the
that's
lack
scary.
of infrastructure at the country club, I mean, as an elderly person, if you couldn't drive, what are you gonna do? Are they then going to get the New Haven to bring buses up Fountain Street to there? I mean,
well, yes, they will. And so that's the thing, like, and you should read, I encourage all of you to read this POCD with Connecticut because it is what is going to happen in Connecticut. They're reimagining the urban centers, which we are, you know, so anything New Haven, Waterbury, Bridgeport, Norwalk, and they're trying to figure out a way, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how this is all gonna play out, but there is a sprawl that is going to happen. There's a gentrification that's happening in New Haven, and we know it, and basically what we're now being tasked with bringing in some of their refugees because they're kicking people out of the city. And
Pricing
so
them out.
yeah, they're pricing them out, absolutely. And so we need to be mindful of this, and planful. And what's upsetting is that, you know, you have, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm giving people a little bit of grace at least, because we're all volunteers. People on Board of Selectmen are volunteers, TPZ's volunteers. I think people are doing the best they can, but I think we need to do better.
Yeah, and the volunteer crutch is not one you can use. We're all, like, you signed up to do something, right? And you're signed up to do things in the best interest of the residents of the town, and that's the bottom line. And I don't see how any of these ideas are gonna help anybody that really needs the help that they need. There's just more problems on the horizon, not to mention destroying a beautiful piece of property.
Well,
So,
you also have the point that has been brought up, that Connecticut is trying to have 20% of its property total conserved. And places like New Haven don't have any place to conserve it. So places like Woodbridge have to take up that slack if we're
Especially
gonna
if they
head to
abut.
that direction.
They abut New Haven, they're so close to New Haven that in some ways that's even better than
I
if they're
mean,
tucked away.
but
That's a good segue,
The-
Barbara, into when I give you the Coupop report, because there's
Okay.
an opportunity
So,
with that.
can we move on pretty soon?
Can I make
Yeah.
one last
Yes.
slightly tangential, well, so.
Sorry, so did we make a decision that we want to create a memo that says we are not pleased with this, we are not being heard, and share it with other boards and commission and organizations?
Do we think that there's some insensitivity to the
and
environmental
get it out
concerns?
to the public. I mean, there are several ways we can get this out to the
Okay.
public.
Would you be willing to write that?
Sure.
That is wonderful,
Sure.
Diane.
Before
And
I
we
go
can
to
all
New
review
Orleans.
it before we, send it out.
Yeah, I can help as well. So I just wanted, so I think tactically this is good, to put some stuff out and communicate and stuff, but we should also try and think about sort of longer term strategically. Like, I feel like the way the town is set up, there's just no formal structures for conservation to have their voice heard. And I think it'd be useful to think about what we would want and be pretty clear about that, and we have to sort of message that as well. Like, you know, like maybe we should have a, you know, is that the term, ex officio conservation member on TPZ and on housing.
But I thought we
or-
are allowed at any time to request
To go there.
to go on
I
TP&Z's
don't know
agenda
about
to provide
TPZ.
updates.
Oh, yes,
On
I
their
think that's in
agenda,
our
but can we
statute.
vote?
I'm
Well, I
I'm
don't think
thinking
we
like
need
You
a-
to
can't
vote.
vote,
No, we can't vote. I know we can't vote. That's the
but
point,
ex
but I think that's
officio, you
No, I'm
can't.
saying, I'm saying
Ex
change
officio.
the structure so that we could actually have more, because I do
Ex
think
officio
that,
doesn't
that
do any good.
conservation
It
represents.
actually does do good, I have to say though, Barbara, because I was going as ex officio on Coupop, and it makes a huge difference, because again, they are in, this town is, and I don't know,
Yeah,
I can only
everybody's
speak
siloed,
about,
I think, is
everyone
the
is
problem.
siloed, so
Listen, everyone
you
in
don't
this town
know.
is busy. Okay, you
Yeah.
come to the
Everyone's
committee
busy.
meeting, you can attend.
But
I mean,
everyone's
that's just one
siloed.
example, but another
You
one
don't
might be,
work together.
like, for example, you know, the plan of conservation and development was not a joint effort between conservation and TPZ.
No.
Right? So to me that's kind of a problem, because, you know, TPZ sort of, they have what they're concerned about, and there's no formal structure. So they, you know.
Despite the
I-
fact that we were emailing them
Y-
and requesting
Yeah,
to
so
be
I
a
just-
part of the
State
process, we were
I think that
ignored.
is a state thing, that it is up to TPZ to,
But
Yes,
they-
and in
But I-
most towns, they have a,
I feel like
they have a
there's
steering committee which
probably-
is made up of both members.
there's nothing, I don't know the law, but I imagine there's nothing in the law saying that conservation can't take a larger role in
Any
helping
role.
create the
Absolutely
POCD.
not.
No, it's
right?
actually
Well,
recommended.
If you look
And
at other
it is-
towns
it
like
is-
Madison, they
yeah,
do
they
it
do.
better, they do it
They
way
do it.
better, to avoid these problems that we find ourselves in now.
Yeah, so
And
these are
town
the sorts of
planning
things
and
that I'm
zoning,
saying
there's
that we
supposed to
can-
be also a planning portion of it, and it isn't just every 10 years doing the POCD. They're supposed to plan, not react to all of these applications, for instance. There's no planning, there's no
So-
plan.
Yeah, so,
Ben, I think the only tricky part is that we all need to commit to more time then, because there's 4 or 5 things that we should, the TPZ, housing.
yeah, I'm
Coupon.
not sure what the answers
So
are.
that's-
I'm just saying that
that's the
it's something
trickiest
we
part
should
about it.
think about.
I
Like,
agree,
like
I
what,
think it's,
maybe we could just say like, this is the one thing we need to do, and just sort of be clear about that messaging for long enough till somebody says, okay,
so Ben, do you think we can have a longer discussion about this next month? I think it's a good point. I just think that we need to put some boots on the ground and figure out,
yeah, what
How
would
we
we,
can do it.
how would we want the town to structurally change its commissions?
Well, I thought we
in
were,
order
I
to-
thought when Tim was on the commission, wasn't he ex officio on TP&Z and, Tim?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't he ex officio on TP&Z and on Coupon? So,
Coupon,
Yes, he
for
was.
sure,
He did.
yeah.
I
That's
think the
what
truth
But I
is
thought
he
he
went
was-
to lots of meetings that we didn't
Yeah,
even
but I
know
thought he
about.
was ex
And that's
officio
how,
on.
honestly, that's how it should be done, you know,
But the,
to make it more effective.
you can
Yeah.
be ex officio and not be listened to at all.
Or-
It depends
Totally.
upon the committees and
It
their,
depends on the people,
But
Exactly.
you know,
if we
I
don't
mean,
try, it won't.
but
we
if you
know it
don't
won't.
go,
But if you don't show up and
go to
take
the
the
oh,
meetings,
it doesn't make any.
it doesn't-
So, okay, all right,
Okay,
let's,
so let's
yeah.
move on.
we
right?
will, Ben is ready to look into that.
We need,
Ben, what are you looking into so far? I need your
I think we need
Kathy's taking good notes.
someone who has, I mean, maybe it's Tim we need to talk to. I don't know, somebody who has sort of been around the town for a long time and knows how things work. And, oh, actually, you mentioned there was a lawyer that we could maybe talk to. We talked about it last meeting. There
Oh,
was,
David.
or a
Lober.
consultant or
David
something.
Lober?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like
He's
we
not
need
a
to
lawyer.
talk to someone
No,
who
but
knows
he was
the,
he was our
Ex officio.
selectman,
you were liaison.
our
Liaison.
liaison,
Mm.
and he was great. Yeah, he was
yes,
great.
someone like that kind of can say, okay, here's how you should restructure to actually, have these voices be heard that are not being heard right now.
Okay,
And maybe that's like, maybe it's this person, and if you was
He could
talk to
come
him
meet
or
with us,
something,
yeah.
I don't know.
All right,
okay.
Sharon and I will send an email over
Okay,
to
you
Paige.
ready?
Some, yeah,
Diana,
sure,
you-
you're writing it. All right, moving right along from the TAC and the Connecticut Deep Trail Grant update on signage. Wouldn't this be a great thing to show at Earth Day?
Well, we're getting there. Do you wanna talk, Barbara, or do you want me to?
We're getting there. We started today going to each of the sites, making sure
I want an
that
invite for
the
this.
the cell phones work, at least 2 of the servers, they do work so far.
What are the 2 servers,
What
just
do
so
you,
I know?
Verizon and
And
T-Mobile, does anyone have?
I have
uh,
Verizon.
T-Mobile.
What?
I have Verizon. Oh, you need AT&T?
Yeah,
We need AT&T
I
and
had
we need,
you two have AT&T, who else do we need?
what's the other one? Verizon, AT&T, oh, Optimum.
Does anyone have?
Is that a cell phone company?
They do have cell phone, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, well, if anyone watching has Optimum, let us know, cause we need their cell
Anyway,
phone.
we
They
went
might
to
lease their
4,
lines from a
what,
major
4
carrier
sites
though.
today?
5.
No, they won
5, we
them.
went to 5, we actually got to 5. And check that out. Pounded stakes in the ground where we felt these, signs should go.
Nice.
Crew
Um,
found the distance between the sign and the site.
found out how far it is, and
It's
we
awesome.
have, this is me being old fashioned, but we have mocked up a sign.
Well, there's another
Very
sign.
cool.
that we
Nice.
have, but we have another one from Lisa Flaherty too.
Yes, and we have one online that she sent us.
And
I didn't
we
print it
have
out.
data,
But that's the
I've been
type
in
of
touch
thing
with
we
Brian
expect.
Pines
That's
with
so
Land
cool.
Trust, and they're
Don't
giving
look
me
at the
feedback
colors, don't look at,
about
you know, it's
the
just sort
whole
of,
sign. I've heard they have some concerns, and I just got another email that they wanna know which properties we're thinking of, so we need to make sure we know all the ones that are Land Trust ones.
I thought we put it in the application that they signed up on,
Oh, maybe.
all of the sites.
We did not, no, we just said 10 sites. And we did put suggested, yes.
So
Okay.
let's
But it
keep
wasn't,
talking
it
about
wasn't in stone, written
So
in stone.
I'm working with Brian Pines and the Land Trust to figure out an agreement about the sign. I think instead of that blue, it's gonna be green, it's gonna be 8 by
It's,
11
yeah,
and a half.
don't think of the colors.
I think we should also have a link there to an audio recording of Barbara reading the site, the history
what?
of you reading the information.
This is wonderful. I'll bring it back after.
Okay, so I've talked to a builder and he's gonna give us a proposal of so we're gonna have a metal sign. But we need the
behind me.
exact writing, and so we're gonna have to do a lot of work mocking up the arrow, what exactly wants to be said. And we're gonna, Barbara and the Historical Society can agree on what that is, right? We don't have to all pass each sign. Is everyone in agreement with that?
This is the actual Woodbridge sign.
Yeah, I like that color and the
Well, the
font
color
and
is
stuff.
not right in that either, but it's,
But there'll be Land Trust and Amity Historical Society on that. Okay, so I'm working with a builder to do a cedar backing and a cedar post.
Mm.
And some of them are gonna have to be different heights because of.
they
we're
sink
figuring out the
into, they
specifics.
sink into the swamp.
Yes, and, so I'm gonna have them make some extra so that if we find some, cause the trail grant we have a lot of resources left in there, so if one rots or if we add up more signs, so I'm gonna have them make 12 to 15 bases and have 10 or 11 signs made, and so we have the signage people, we need Land Trust to sign off, we've got the beginnings of the however it's gonna be on a board, and then, we have to do that design, and we've gone to 5 to 10 sites, so we're making progress, right?
Nice, good work.
And we're gonna do some more site visits.
Now, I have a question.
It would be great to have one of those signs available on Earth Day so we could tell people about it, or at least know where the locations are so they can be
Right, well,
told
maybe we
about
can
them.
do a mock-up one, maybe Lisa
I can,
Flaherty can do
I
a
can,
mock-up.
tell you where the sites are, that's easy.
Yeah, make a list of
You're
them.
not gonna be at the table, Barbara.
But I can give you the list.
Okay, there we are.
And I even have a map that shows where they are in Woodbridge.
Okay, go on, Barbara,
Um,
you're getting late.
I do not recall, what kind of a component of education that Val was working on very hard is in the grant that we have to deal with?
I don't know that matters, cause we're only gonna spend 1 or 2 or 3,000 of the 10,000, and we can always add that maybe later.
Oh, there was a lesson, right?
Some kind of a lesson,
Like a lesson plan or a
because they're
worksheet.
gonna want this to sign off on the grant.
Okay, send that section over to me again just to review, and I'll see what I can put together.
All right.
I'll
Great.
do it. Okay.
Okay, Diana. Whew. Okay, I think that's enough on that. Board of Selectmen memo, Woodbridge Country Club, Ben, any response?
Ben had sent over a memo to the country about the country club and the recommendations, removing the bird net. I mean, not the bird net, the ball net that's
Yeah.
catching
Which
birds.
is now a bird net.
Sorry.
So
Have they responded?
I haven't got a response because I just sent it today. So
Okay.
I was also kind of behind on that. But one of the things that slowed me
Good job
down
sending
is-
it, Ben.
Yeah. We had discussed in last meeting that I should put something in there about the conservation mowing, but I sort of, that wasn't something that was like a very simple thing. It's gonna take some planning and stuff like that, so I was sort of waiting to look into, I was trying to look into that, I never got around to it, and so I just said, I'm just gonna send it.
Okay.
So I-
Without
you
it,
know,
or with it?
without the conservation mowing stuff, but it
Okay,
was.
but maybe we could meet with Warren and talk to him about it.
Yeah, I think the
Well,
idea is
part of the
this
problem
just-
is they're spreading invasives with it, right?
No.
Well, that's in there, so, stop mowing the Japanese knotweed is on there, remove the bird net is on
Oh,
there.
okay.
But the proposal last meeting was to also include with those two things, like do this conservation mowing. but that wasn't like a simple thing like the
That-
first two.
That's an
It-
educational
Yeah,
event.
yeah, it takes, I don't even know, like the, one of the
Like the
reports.
patterns that you're supposed
Yeah,
to
it had
use.
like various options you can choose for it, so it was just a more, time consuming thing. It wasn't like a quick thing to include in the letter, but that is in the full, set of recommendations. So it's still in there. It just wasn't in the initial, it wasn't in the short letter to the Board of Selectmen.
That they should act on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To sort of highlight, like, here's what you do right now.
I wonder if, because you sent that memo, we should follow up with Allison to find out if you need to go to a Board of Selectmen meeting to present that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can do
Answer
that.
any questions I don't
So
have.
do you wanna write a add-on email to Allison and ask her what you could, if there is a follow-up?
Yeah, hopefully she responds and says, got
Okay.
it, and then I'll just ask her,
Okay.
do you want me to, and if not, I'll email her. But yeah, I think the idea is this just sort of gets the ball rolling, and, we can kind of go from there.
Okay, is that all, Ben?
That's it.
Okay, I wanna skip 6 and go to, or you're about to do,
You
talk
want
to
a
us about
Coop
Coop Up.
Do you want an update? There's a lot
Quick.
going on.
Can we have a
I
abbreviated
can
one?
condense it.
Yep,
What parts do you wanna know about?
well, I think we need to make some decisions about
Yeah, we do. We
Laurel.
have to talk about
and
Brookwood
Brookwood.
and Laurel.
So you wanna know what that
Let's-
was all
yeah.
about then? Okay, so, so Laurel in particular, just to give you an idea, this is from the Coopop meeting. Jason Morrell who's the former chair of Conservation Commission, former, advised against splitting the 27 Laurel Road with the abutting property owners of 25 and 26 Laurel Road to
Great.
allow access to the Regional Water Authority land, greenway, future trail access area. There's not a trail there at the moment, but there could be. And the worry was that it might landlock it if we do that. Laurel Road is at the end of a cul-de-sac, allowing for easier access than the other access points to the property which exist on Ansonia and Baldwin Roads.
Mhm.
So that's a key thing, because initially, it was kind of thought that that little strip of land so there's two property owners that have asked for that little piece of land. And they started asking in like 2016. So that just gives you a sense of how things go in our town. It's been a long time. They've had to come
So
multiple times
Ben won't hear back
asking.
from the Board of Selectmen on his memo for
2016, okay?
9
Coopop-
years.
Yeah, it will
So-
be 9 years later.
So, so it was 2016, and then it kind of it started the process, because there is a process to this. They had figured out at that time that it wouldn't be the only access point. It wouldn't be landlocking it if the land did go to the two property owners, because the Regional Water Authority actually accesses the land, I believe, on Baldwin is their key access point versus at the cul-de-sac on Laurel. They also, Regional Water Authority kind of gave their blessing. It was going to TPZ. TPZ was okay with it, and it was supposed to be talked about at the town meeting in 2016, and it came off of that agenda. We're not really sure why. But the people that are the abutting property owners came back a couple years later saying we would still like this, 2021. Long story short, it's just been, not happening.
Is it
So-
just that they don't want people hiking through there?
No, I don't, because there's no hiking trails. This is like a future potential, if, for say,
It's a
someday the Regional
perfect
Water
connection.
Authority doesn't want it, that we could fold that into our greenway plan.
It's interesting that the past two chairmen of the Conservation Commission are both strongly against this happening
Yes,
as a potential greenway passage,
Yes.
as good habitat, as,
Right.
And so, I mean, as a legacy of them, it also seems like it makes sense for us to at least strongly wonder why
Act in accordance.
it's worth dividing that up to two private owners who could make it, you know, tennis court, or maybe not.
They could just put fences on both ends
Yeah.
of it, and then you
Right.
have no connection.
Right.
Or they could make a garden or whatever. But anyway, Jason spoke his piece about that. Tim wrote his piece on that. And I had listened to what how he explained it to me, and was like, yeah, that would be, I don't think we gave a official
Right.
statement, but I would be fine with that too.
Fine with Tim's opinion that it
Yes,
shouldn't be
yes,
sold.
and so, but understanding that there are multiple ways you can access the property, cause it was kind of presented with Tim's statement that maybe there wasn't another way in. Jason mentioned that there's really no safe way,
Yeah, I was gonna say
like the
Baldwin, like-
cul-de-sac is way safer. Most of the trails that I access around my neighborhood are at the end of cul-de-sacs, you know?
Yeah.
And now whether or not the property owners love that, I park my car there and I hop out with the dog and go do my thing, I don't know, but it's a cul-de-sac, so I use it. But needless to say, he stated his piece, irregardless of that, the 4 members that were there at the Coupop meeting decided to go ahead and make the recommendation and the motion for it to go to Board of Selectmen to go forward with that.
Oh dear Lord.
Wow.
I mean,
It's-
I don't know
so
where
it's
you're
just-
getting this from, that nobody listens to conservation.
It's just time after time after time after time after time.
So
It's sort of,
I think that,
And
so,
Jason also made the point that it's such a small piece of land, there was probably very little revenue, tax revenue for the town.
yeah,
and the very
So-
little revenue for selling it.
Yeah.
right.
And it probably costs nothing to maintain it as a town.
It
piece of
actually,
land.
all of, yeah, the town's not doing anything with it. So there's no maintenance of any kind happening. But the costs are all with those 2 property owners. So even the costs of this process of like getting it put through, you know, they would have to have their surveys redone and everything else, like that is all on them to have done. So I don't even know that there's
So
a
maybe,
cost benefit for the town at all, but they've been asked for almost a decade from these people, and now the town, I think,
That doesn't make it more valid. That
just
makes
as
it more
a person that
suspicious.
watched the meeting and, you know, really took it in, I can say that it appears to me that they were making the decision just simply based on these people have been asking for this for a decade, then there doesn't seem to be any valid reason to say no. That's how
Other
it.
than all the other reasons provided from the conservation
Except that
commission
even
before.
when they realized that they're looking at the map, that there were other accessible ways to get to the property if we decided to one
But not-
day
not
have it as trails or connect it to the greenway, that they didn't think that the cul-de-sac would be of importance. So that was their
Even though
their
other
judgment.
You
access-
should
but-
just walk on
but I-
34 and then.
But I
to
guess
just
that's
take a
my
left on.
point, guys, is that like, that's why it's so important if we are ex officio, you know, that we go
Yeah.
to the meetings and we have the voice, because I know that Jason's statement they did go back and forth and they were able to get some information from him, and
But it didn't really change their opinion.
it didn't change, at the end of the day, it doesn't change
So-
anything.
Do we wanna write a letter in support of the past 2?
Well, I think this is probably something else that we bring up at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, in public comment. You know, we've got memo number 1, we've got this TAC meeting, TAC nonsense, we've got Laurel Road.
Road.
So if Laurel Road, so part of it too is that, you know, these things are happening really fast, right? So if something happens and we need to weigh in as a commission, we need to do that, like officially, and like
Right,
be
we
at the
need to write
meeting.
a letter to
Yeah,
Nicole.
so we have to write a letter to Nicole, but I think we should.
But this
Listen,
ship
we've been
has
writing
already
these
sailed.
letters to.
This
No,
letter,
according
it's,
to-
you know, because, I mean, it's not
Nicole-
official,
right, Nicole
but
wanted our input, and let's give her our input.
you should.
Because-
But that's why I'm
But,
also saying
but
I
in the
think we need to
timeliness,
present these
when you
at
know
the
that
Board
it's
of
on
Sel-
her agenda, that's when you need to give the input. After they've made a motion to go ahead and
It's
put
true.
forward it on to the Board of Selectmen, you're too late.
Then
So,
they need to tell us 3 or 4 months ahead of time of what they're gonna be doing, because we're very busy and they have only that's their piece of reality that they're dealing with. We're dealing with 8 or 10 other things. So we need to anticipate it more. And that's a problem. And we're not being unreasonable. I think we're all in agreement that the Boxwood, is that the name of the property?
Brookwood.
Brookwood.
is an okay lot to sell. It's a building.
well, that's a funny one, so I'll give you the update on that.
Okay.
So, the housing, so Nicole, reached out to Housing and Conservation. Housing recommended that it be used for affordable housing, possibly donating the land to nonprofits such as Habitat for Humanity in New Haven to promote affordable housing opportunities in town. We hadn't given like an official recommendation. This lot, that 52 Brookwood Drive, was deeded specifically for single-family use only. Now, Nicole did some research and found brand new information from Chris Sullivan that this was possibly wetland soils.
Really?
They talked to Alexis Rinaldi at Quinnipiac Health District and said that the lot had been tested extensively since 1982 and multiple times, but not since 2008. That was the last test. It appeared to be swampy in previous tests. Any building would require new tests because now the test from 2008 is more than 5 years old, so they would have to go back and test again. And so an engineer would have to determine if a minimum septic could even be built on that. Chances are, it probably is not gonna be a buildable site, but irregardless, that's not Coopop's job. They've done their job, now they're pushing it off to the next, where it goes next, and they'll recommend that Board of Selectmen can sell or donate the land for a single family use, but obviously the diligence needs to be done to perk test or do the soil testing to deem if it's even buildable, so.
So is inland wetlands involved? Like, when do they
It's
step in?
it's
to
not
pick those
it's
up?
not really them. What it is, Brookwood Drive was one of those developments. It was a road of lots and the lot was purchased, and my guess that through all these iterations of tests, they were like, ugh, it's kind of wonky over here, we can build it, but not the 5-bedroom septic you wanted, not the 4-bedroom septic you wanted. You'd have to angle the house in such a way so that the well and the septic can be like, so it probably was like, no thanks, and it's just stayed empty kind of thing. So it's just turned out that it's just not the lot is just not great. And as time goes on, it's not just the water that you can see in a little stream or something near the property, it's what's happening underneath, right? So that's,
So, I mean, we could agree that it's sellable unless, it's deemed.
I mean, that's the beautiful thing, is we do have, things in place that weren't even in place 50 years ago that will say, no,
Yeah.
nothing can be built here because there's water and the ground is not gonna support a septic system. So,
Right, so we can be on the side of if it's a buildable lot, it's not a integral part of the ecosystem that we wanna protect. But
It's
if
not, we don't even have to say that.
you don't even have
We
to.
just say
on
that
that
it does
one.
not have conservation concerns, and
Okay, yeah,
that was it.
And that's one of those things too, that you gotta pick your battles, because some of them
Yeah.
are just like, it was a planned development, and
It's just
the
one
lot
lot.
is sitting there, and as it turns out, it wasn't an attractive lot
They-
when,
they
at the
didn't
end of the
divide it
day,
up
when
very
the
well.
owner did their job to see what kind of house they could put there, it didn't work out so well,
okay,
you know?
so we can write a letter saying that we're okay with Coopop proceeding with whatever they think it deemed best for that lot.
So
Okay.
now I'm gonna go through this as fast as I can because these are important
If you're
things.
taking notes.
The PD, and I'll send this to you all,
Thank you.
okay? The PD site review presentation, they had a working session on that. So Coopop's been tasked with reviewing publicly owned properties near the center of town that may be suitable for a new police department. Police chief desires to stay in the center of town. No design specs in terms of parking sizes at this time. This is just preliminary. They're simply reviewing the following properties and will create a table with the pros and cons for the police commission and ultimately Board of Selectmen to review at a later date. The potential properties are 5 Newton Road, which is across from the old firehouse, 5.9 acres, possible wetlands and land trust property. That's that little like
Yep.
weird corner, you know? Just so you know, real quick, they pretty much, they're gonna put that on their con list because even to come out, there's no real nice way for the police to come in and out from that, property. So even if it wasn't with all the other questionable things, that wouldn't be their favorite spot to go. 11 Meeting House Lane, Town Hall area tennis courts. This would be removing a town amenity that would need to be moved somewhere else. So that's also kind of going on the con list because why would you do that, you know, if you don't have to? 100 Center Road is the firehouse, garden, Fitzgerald track, dog park, 133 acres with some wetlands. This is their strongest recommendation to create a police department firehouse complex. So that when you go in where the firehouse is now, there would be the police department there too. It would,
So it would be on the other side of where the
No.
trail is.
it would be, so like where the parking lot is now, where the fire department is now, they would almost have like a shared parking lot. The parking lot would maybe go into those woods a little bit further, and the police department would be there, so it would be kind of like this, you know, campus.
New buildings.
So refurbishing these existing space is not a option?
So that was like a $40 million, but it might be now, Rachel, honestly, because with what just happened with the asbestos and everything,
Right.
might force their hand to have to do something about that
Right.
building anyway. But whatever, this is preliminary, we don't need to get excited, but what you need to know, is that the 100 Center Road of all their options seems to be the one that they like the most. 149 Center Road is further down where the ball field and the maintenance area for Public Works. It's a well-utilized area. 151 Center Road, parking,
See, trees aren't
trailhead.
well utilized, but ballparks are.
Yeah, that's
It
what I mean.
depends on who's utilizing that.
Well,
you
that's,
know?
the ballpark is used, right? So it would be losing another amenity, okay? But it would be nice to have, if they were gonna have the police department to be able to connect with Public Works, with the gas pumps are there, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's already disturbed land, let's just put it that way,
Yeah.
okay? But 151 Center Road, parking, trailhead, small memorial playground, wetlands, possible historical significance, not a large parcel of land. That's where the little memorial type playground is for the really little kids.
Oh,
Right on
You
center.
know, so
Where the-
this is
the
going on.
pavilion
It's going
is
on.
behind that.
It's going on the con list anyway. But Peace Park, they also did a working session on Peace Park project presentation. That is a large area that includes obviously Peace Road and the Alleghi property and 52 Center Road. So the current use right now and the infrastructure, it has water sewer at the driveway, has some lighting, small shed, paved and unpaved lots. That's where the playground is, Peace Place, soccer and lacrosse fields, and there's an agricultural lease, which is off-center farm. They did this working session, the goal was to be, they were hoping to go for the STEEP grant, and that is the Small Town Economic Assistance Program, to work with recreation and maybe us, which was my recommendation, and agriculture and, so several,
Well, 'cause
commissions
there
in
is a farm
town
right over
to
there.
kind of have a complex of like where people could come. They want to do an ADA bathroom there. They want to do
Right.
some things there.
Splash
Um,
pad.
So, but in order to apply for a steep grant, you really need to be shovel ready and you need to have all your ducks in a row. You have to
Got it.
really have it, and they weren't there for the deadline. So now they're gonna work on this and I think try to go for it potentially next year. They've been exploring budgets for each line item, identifying high level of major phases for each project, timelines for each project. Thinking this could be maybe a campus of recreation in town, that Coopop, rec, conservation, agriculture could co-create. So I would really encourage this kind of thing as a way to, kind of undo some of the harm that's been done, I think, in the town. Like if we could successfully pull something like this off, then maybe we could do other things. Their top project goals are expanding a paved parking that's ADA compliant. That's expensive. The initial cost estimate, not all inclusive, was like $367,000. Bathroom facility to have multiple bathrooms, ADA compliant, a loop, like a paved path or around the fields, ADA compliant, a universal slab 75 wide by 100 feet long for splash pad / skating rink, pickleball courts, tennis courts, a secondary project goals, so all those things, okay?
What is next?
You could put pollinator gardens in there, you could do other things.
Yeah, and I did talk to Nicole about some of the like perimeter fencing she was talking
Yeah,
about.
we could do
doing
natural fencing.
nature-based
And
solutions.
this is
Yeah.
still all Pease Road.
It's Peace and Center, so, the off-center farm
Yep.
agricultural lands kind of
Of
go on
Quonset.
both sides, right? So their next steps is to work more with recreation to generate in ideas and layout. And so again, I encourage that we join that party. Town, Mika and Tony have a site plan developed by a professional. That's really important because that's kind of comes out of the town budget and it's expensive, but it's necessary. We as volunteers don't make site plans, that's out of our purview. Coordinate so that we could go ahead and get this grant. So I'm just gonna give you my personal thoughts on this, that since they might be applying for the steep grant next year, they could get up to $1 million. This is a good example of something we could be successful if we work together. They should probably create a small working group made up of different commissions to work together to achieve a recreation campus that encompasses agriculture, sustainability, recreation, conservation, community, etc. This would increase their funding sources since multiple entities are coming together, which the STEEP grants love, and ensure that it's done in a way that will have a broader, more lasting impact on the community, not just for Woodbridge, but for the area. Bonus, more hands make light work. We tend to think and play in this town too small. We kind of keep it to our individual silos, which makes it difficult for us to think about bigger picture ideas. Upper Woodbridge versus Lower Woodbridge, for example, or Woodbridge versus New Haven County. Imagine if we could work together, we could open it up to be an inviting place for visitors too, and we would get even more funding. For example, we go to other towns all the time to enjoy their town amenities, right? We go to Bethany, we go to Orange, Milford,
Milford, yeah.
Cheshire, wherever. So there's no reason why we can't do that here in Woodbridge. That way we could maybe, when people are recreating here, they could stop at Blue Check or dine locally at Katz and other restaurants, visit our local farms, farmers markets, Nebco, shop locally, which would help revive our business district. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Next meeting is Monday, April 28th at 6 p.m. at Town Hall, and they're gonna have the chief of police there to have give their pros and cons list on the possible sites for a future police
Can
department.
anyone go to that meeting?
April 28th.
April 28th.
Rachel, getting you in a lot of meetings here.
And I will send you the notes on that so that you guys have
May I
them.
say
Is that gonna be at the
something?
library again? It's at 6 o'clock?
No, it's at
That's gonna be at
hall.
town hall.
Barbara,
But-
you wanna say something?
But pay attention, Diana, because it's likely to get moved with all the other meetings that are
Yeah.
happening now.
It's
So-
at 6 o'clock?
Yep.
Barbara?
I was at a Coopop meeting early on in this whole idea of the Pease Road facilities, et cetera, and as we're hearing it right now, it is a duplicate of what they're talking about on the country club. Same thing.
Yeah, that was
I
my
mean,
thought.
is the
So-
town going to have two?
No,
sites?
Yeah,
so
but
what
this is a
the
much
town
better
needs to
place.
do is
Peace
be
Park is much
planful and, cause we only need one, you know, sort of
One what?
complex,
Oh,
you know,
One
one recreation
complex
complex.
of recreation facilities.
And that'll free up so much more land for more housing on the country club if they do
Just
that.
stick it all on Pease Road.
But no, I think it's a good point though. I mean, you know,
Talk
we have to
about
think about the
working
best place for
separately.
things, and I feel like you know, Peace Park is a great place for a recreation campus.
Absolutely.
and
as
it's all
opposed to,
more centrally located
yeah.
too.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, they're thinking of a swimming pool and ice rink, you know, there's a lot of extenuating things,
Well,
but
you
a lot
know,
of it could be covered.
And rec
If
deserves
it's-
a proper home. They're nomads and
Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
such great work. So
They really do.
if they could find the right place for them, then that would be a win.
I mean, we do have to be kind of mindful of the farm,
Right.
you know, but
How do they feel?
Coopop didn't even know that existed.
No,
months ago.
well, they didn't realize the
they
land was
missed
being leased.
Right, exactly.
And it just so happened that Christina was at the
She was
meeting
sitting
doing
at the
something
meeting, she said,
else.
"That's my
She's
land."
like, that's, I'm leasing that.
They were talking about what they were gonna do, what they could do with this land,
And her eyes were getting bigger and bigger, and I was like, well, you were sitting next to me. I know. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. But that's why we have to go to these meetings, because people just don't know. People
Yeah.
should come to our meetings
Yes.
because we don't know, you know, like.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'll check it out.
Missed mine.
Okay, 'cause
well,
I'm
I
not
do,
interested.
I agree with what Ben said, that I think Pease Park sounds like a really great location for a recreational site.
Yeah.
Especially since, and I'm not talking about the land that's being
Did you
leased,
hear
but I'm
that?
talking
Are
about
you
the other
gonna write
part.
that down?
We like something.
Peace Park.
He likes
Okay, so should we move on here?
We're okay
Nugent
with
property? I did get an email from Allison, which I cannot find, because I asked her about it, and I'm wondering if Diana can find it, and I kinda glanced at it, and it sounded like there wasn't anything definitive, but that the state has indicated they're interested. The language may be a little more distinct than that, and when I get that and find that email, I will pass it on to everybody else. But there's no definitive decision as of yet. That's my understanding. Okay, new business. Woodbridge Open Space Plan Review. Woodbridge Open Space Plan, what's that about?
I think we were gonna review the open space plan, but my recommendation is, we've already talked about the public hearing for the Housing Commission, we've talked about the public hearing for 67 Peace Road. I think the open space plan is maybe a good one that we look at in May, where we have a little more time to digest it as a commission, so my recommendation is that we move it until the next one, and we move down to, member comments. Is anybody opposed to that?
Yes, because we've already done the public hearing ones on 1, 2, and 3.
I missed the update on the Nugent, on number 7 though, under old business, if it's okay to.
Oh, I have gotten an email. I got it today. I cannot find it.
Oh,
But I
okay.
glanced at it and it said that there was, the state reflected interest, but I didn't get a sense that they have made a determination as to
This
whether
is
they're gonna
Litchfield?
go black.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for repeating that.
Yeah, no, and, if I'm wrong and when I look at the email, I find it different, I will email that to everybody and communicate that. And before we're done, I'd like to review what we've all agreed to do so that we, those things occur. Okay, so are we down to member comment?
We are.
Joy?
Okay.
Bad news.
I know. Sorry, guys.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Wait, you can't do that.
I second
Because you do, no. You can't do it. I repeal it.
Oh, rescinded.
So, so I'm just gonna read this. I wrote, and I'll give this to you, Sharon, so this is official. Dear fellow conservation commissioners, after careful consideration, I've decided to step down from my post on the Conservation Commission. This has not been an easy decision, but it has become clear to me that the town is being steered in a direction that is not aligned with the future I was envisioning for Woodbridge. For the past decade, I've been actively involved as a volunteer and community leader in various roles, serving on the Zoning Board of Appeals, this commission, Beecher Road and Amity Schools, Massaro Community Farm, and the Woodbridge Democratic Town Committee for Town and State Politics. Over the past year, it seems that the time and energy I've invested in my current town endeavors are not yielding anything but frustration. The lack of a clear, shared vision, direction for the town, and the process for citizens to truly shape the future of Woodbridge has been extremely disappointing. As a result, I've informed our first selectman and the chair of the WDDC that I've decided to step away from all town-related commitments. And committing to the long game of what I hope to build and contribute, it has become clear that I need to release what isn't working so I can concentrate on things that could have a positive impact. I sincerely wish you all the best and hope that we can work together again sometime in the future. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Respectfully, me. So I'm sorry, but I adore all of you. I've loved working with all of you. I love your passion. I share your passion. But I think that I'm going to try a different route. I feel like maybe I might be more impactful and effective stepping away from these things so that I can, because I'm just like, if it's been like, well, we talked a lot about a lot of these things tonight, but like, it's like hitting your head against a brick wall, you know, so I'm gonna try a different route. We'll see.
So, well, that's very sad, Joy. And thank you for the work that you have done and your guidance and your mentorship for all of us. I know that we had been contacted by somebody on housing to meet. I know that you had sat in there and had a conversation, and I'm just curious if you can provide any comments on what that was.
Yeah, so I thought initially, you know, I was curious about the housing committee. As you know, I was ex officio. I'd stepped up to do the COOPOP meetings, and I had volunteered to watch the housing meetings as well. And in the housing meeting, it was really interesting because they were mentioning some work that Litchfield County had been successful working together in their conservation and their housing commissions. And I watched the videos that she's encouraged you all to watch. I did a deep dive actually into what they've been doing. Their needs and what they're trying to solve for is very different than Woodbridge. Not that that's of a big shock. But doing all of that and kind of also knowing the temperature of like where we are at this moment in time in our town, I just felt like we are not anywhere close, and this is just my opinion. Maybe you guys will be more successful engaging the housing committee, but I knew for myself that we had a lot of work to do before we could sort of partner. And as a member of the WDTC, along with Mika and Kathy Hunter, I decided to go into that meeting being myself. one of the people on the same team that we're supposed to be playing on, and to see if we could sort of find a beginning, find some common ground, find even like are we on the same page like at all, and sadly we were not. So like I said, I tried. So
Thank you.
Thanks for the report.
Yeah, I just also want to say, Joy, it's been a real pleasure working with you, and I feel like you're a very strong voice on the commission, and I always really like what you have to say and respect what you have to say, and it's going to be, I think there's going to be a big hole in that chair, and we're all going to miss you.
thank you, Ben.
Yeah, I want to echo the same thing. I've learned so much from you as a new member, and really, really a big void on this team for sure. So I don't know if we'll be able to find someone like you, but we'll certainly try, and thanks for everything you've contributed.
Well, if I know of any names, I will send them your way, because it's important work, but I do share your frustration. Obviously, I'm very frustrated about not feeling like we're being regarded or respected or, sort of
Included.
included. Yeah, it's so I think, I hope to come back. I'm gonna just put that out there, this is my love. I still have big plans for wanting to do something amazing for Woodbridge with a pollinator pathway, that people from all kinds of different towns and maybe even different states come and enjoy someday. So I'm not done, not even close, but
That's great to hear.
I think I just need a little time to regroup, so.
And we'd love to use you as a resource just for
Absolutely.
input and thoughts and.
Yep, you know where to find me.
Yeah.
I'll be at the farm, or I'm here, and
I think you need to come back to the meetings as an ex officio.
I don't
can
know
sit
how that
down
works.
You can sit alternate.
Absolutely.
Well, it's gonna be tricky to fill your boots, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
have my boots on today.
Oh, that's good. Well, we'll have to share them with someone else.
Okay. Are there other member comments?
Well, I guess the obvious one, not to follow it too quickly, but we have been given a little notice that this was happening. And we need to try to find someone as capable and involved and interested as a member, because we are stretched a little thin.
Maybe we could post this on Facebook. Looking for new members.
Yeah, who would like to?
Earth
Well,
Day
it's a
would be a
long
great way to
application.
recruit some people too.
That's
That's
a
actually, maybe we
great
should make,
idea.
can you make up a little flyer? That'd be great, yeah, because, and I'd also talked to Mika about increasing our numbers, or having some alternates,
Mm.
because Val is unfortunately not able to attend, and, I guess that would require a town meeting and a vote, I guess, and it has some official,
Yeah, because you have to change
yeah, the
is it an
bylaws.
ordinance?
But if they're doing that from the housing commission, maybe they could just add us onto that. I didn't wanna burden, I know there's a lot going on, so I didn't wanna burden the town with that, but if it's already gonna be, there's already gonna be one amendment, having a second one might not be a bad idea, 'cause like, wetlands has alternates, and some others have alternates. And also, I have in the works, finding out if we can do student members, and I haven't heard the lawyer was gonna be contacted, and, Allison hasn't gotten back to me about that. But that would also be another source of people power, which I think,
Students would be amazing. You have
Yep.
an AP environmental
right.
class, and
Yeah, and
It would go a
I
long
saw
way to getting word out too.
I saw Nikki. He spoke to us last year. He was at the science fair again this year. He was a finalist. He did very, very well.
oh, that's great.
Yeah, he did excellent. He had a really cool project. So he said he was interested in coming to more of the meetings, we just have to remind him when they are. So maybe we can get him and Sophia to join us again.
Well, maybe they can at least come as visitors,
Yeah.
and, you know, just 'cause anyone can come to the meetings, and then maybe over time, we can, so they'll be up to speed if we try to include them.
Or if you
Absolutely.
gave them like some, particular
Task.
project or,
That's what I was
you
thinking
know.
is if we could actually involve them in something.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
they seemed pretty eager to do something.
We
so
could
have
set them
to
out there
kinda-
with some binoculars.
yeah, find some birds for us.
Right, but just sitting at these meetings,
I don't think
are a
that's-
little rough.
I don't
They
think
have a
that's the
lot of
exciting
homework,
part.
so.
Yeah.
But that might be good to use them as resources.
I'd like to add a few items to the agenda right now.
Speaking of going to meetings, I'll just throw it out that at least two of the members of the Board of Selectmen mentioned to me last night about how they appreciate the public coming and sitting, even if they don't say anything at the Board of Selectmen meeting, but just they feel like that's support for some of their things that they're fighting for. Sometimes losing battles, but whatever, so everybody that can get to any of those meetings, it's very much appreciated.
Yeah, it's lonely. I mean, we sit here and I don't know who's at home watching.
Watching.
But yeah, but
We have some company today.
I know. This poor guy's like, this is the town meeting I picked to attend for my research. Oh, God.
You wanna make any
Sorry.
comment?
So what a controversial commission.
Gives a lot to write about.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Any other member comments?
Well, I just want to appreciate all of us for how much work we're doing and trying to further things. It's slow, but it's occurring, and I want to encourage us.
Yeah.
And to Joy, for you, maybe we can give you some ways that you can help that are little, but with your expertise and insight.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
I'm gonna be thinking about this stuff all the time, so it's not like I'm turning off a switch. So yeah,
Great.
please do.
I have a comment before we switch over. Reflecting back on what I said about the TAC. I've done a lot of work in stakeholder engagement, and I think what I find to be the most upsetting about this process is it has this veil of stakeholder engagement. It has this appearance of community engagement and an opportunity for the public to be involved and to weigh in, but the reality behind it is that it's being driven with a very specific focus and theme in mind, and it doesn't allow us to sway. There's no wiggle room. There's no option for, like Ben said, like full choices, right? It's you can choose from the decisions that we think are okay. And that's the most frustrating piece of this is if you're gonna, people, I mean, we had 125 people at that meeting last night. I came late because I thought it was another sticker meeting, and it was not. It's the entire sustainability committee came late because we were working on Earth Day, and so, you know, we thought we were going in with enough time, and we missed the whole thing. We got there for the last 20 minutes of conversation. But to have an opportunity to have a conversation with your neighbors, with your friends, your peers, your elected officials, your commissioners in town to say, this is how I feel about something, and how do you feel about it, and we could have differing opinions, but let's talk about it in a productive way and hear each other. And I think this is not that. It may be 70% of that, which is a good start, but it doesn't accomplish the same thing. And I think that's why what we're hearing from folks in town is that they are very frustrated with it, and myself included, because I feel that, justice, I feel freedom of speech, opinion, all of those things matter. They matter in our country, and we see them being undermined, and they matter in our hometown. And we see commissions and people being sidestepped. And so my comment is that this is why I am frustrated with this process, because it is not honest and open and clear communication. And that I think the town has an opportunity to provide that type of open process and that type of open forum so that we all can be heard and we all can come to conclusions and hear each other in an open, productive way without pitting all of us against each other. I'm only for housing, I'm only for conservation, I'm only for recreation. There's no democracy there. So those are my thoughts, and that is my frustration, and I apologize if it comes across as flippant. But my ultimate goal for my position here and in my community is to support the democracy and support the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add a little bit?
Well, how do
With
you add-
footnotes
How
from
do you add to that?
Somebody's gonna. It's gonna be
Seemed pretty
Barbara.
thorough.
I believe I was the only one at that meeting last night, and I feel that it showed exactly what Diana is saying. The meeting was touted as a meeting with a presentation and question and answer period and participation, et cetera, and I think at least 125, if not 200 people showed up last night. And first of all, the presentation was almost impossible to see and hear. It was a screen less big than that in that gymnasium with a sound system that was echoing around the room, and a presenter who was not very articulate, and at least it wasn't coming through the sound system that way. There was no question and answer period, so you couldn't learn what other people around were thinking and how they were thinking. There was nothing that allowed any of the residents of town to express or to ask questions or anything. There was no participation in it was just the presentation. Take this survey, go on your phone to take the survey. They had a few paper copies of the survey. I happened to be talking to somebody, so I didn't get the code to put in on my phone. So I finally went up and asked for the code, and they said, oh, well, we're going to put paper surveys in the library and the senior center, and you have 2 weeks to take this. Nobody said that at all to the people in the room. It was just, do it now or forget it. I finally did, because the last survey they didn't tell you where to turn it in or when to turn it in or anything about it. It was just a piece of paper in front of the 4 boards that had that statement on them. So I found that the meeting itself was completely frustrating for all the people that were there, and they expressed that afterwards.
That's important feedback. Yeah, thank you.
I have one last question. Does anyone else want to come up with a quote for next meeting about the environment? Or do you want me to? I will.
You have it.
Okay. Are people okay with the quote to start our meeting?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Great. Should we adjourn?
I shall move.
I second. don't think we even have to vote, but.
We don't have to vote.
8:43.